Yeah!
Hey, it's Josh Williams here, and welcome to the One Man Podcast, episode number 83 for Wednesday, December 12th, 2018. How's it going, onesies? How are you guys doing? 83 episodes in. Man, I talk a lot, huh? That's too much talking from this guy right here. 83 special number, of course, the year of my birth. Do your own math. But I love it. 83 is a special number to me. Very, very special. There's only one 83, before we start putting hundreds on it, and who knows, maybe I'll have long since given up, right? My voice slowly fading from the echoes of time and quit. Or perhaps it'll be my heart. My heart will give out. And I will not be here to complain at you guys and bitch about my week. Oh man, am I ever getting this thing recorded early though? I still have energy. I didn't get a lot of sleep. I was up late and I'll tell you about that later on. Was it for anything fun? Fun to me. Fun for my anxiety. Oh man, feeding my stresses and my neuroses till the wee hours of the morning. So it's welcome onesies. That's what I'm getting. I haven't even finished the intro yet and I'm already wandering down the neuro pathways of distraction. This week I'm going to tell you guys some of the promos I did. I got that chance to do some hangouts. Had fun with people that I love to hang out with and spend time with. I did an interview. But it wasn't a bonus episode interview. No. Merely an intro. Well, not merely nothing. I was absolutely excited to do this fucking interview. And swearing, really, Josh? Really? You're trying to, a nice proper lady on your podcast doing an interview about a more sophisticated topic, and you're going to throw an F-bomb in absolutely needlessly. That's right. Just so everyone who's listening, who may have been drawn here by my interviewees, traffic from Twitter or whatnot, just to let you know that I do have the occasional swear word that pops out of my mouth. So feel free to listen along to this podcast so you get to the part that you're interested in. In the meantime, what else will I be telling you guys about? I did some gaming this week too, played some video games in my downtime, and that was feeding into my, like I said, being neurotic and my escaping in these cold holiday times. So getting right to it, last week after the podcast, I actually had a chance on Wednesday. I didn't think I had anything booked for my day. And, regular writer into the podcast here, good friend of mine, Chris. Him and I had been talking about maybe getting together sometime soon. Now that he lives back in the city, it doesn't take me an hour to drive to him. We've been trying to schedule a hangout. So we did exactly that on Wednesday. Excuse me, little fluids here keep the voice all lubed up, right? A little vocal cord oil change. So Chris and I got together, and I brought my laptop with me because I did want to get a fair bit of promo done for the podcast. It's never far from my mind this here podcast. But I was also excited because I had another shipment coming from DK that I was very, very excited about. And of course, the subject of this week's review and the interview itself. So I was kind of like, I want to get my promo work done and whatnot, because I know that Chris had a few things to do too. So I ended up, while I was at his house, actually being on the computer for a reasonable amount. Now, he was participating with me. We still had fun. But, when you get to a buddy's house at like 10 o'clock in the morning and you're finally closing your laptop at like 1 to say, okay, I'm done. Let's hang out now. That's too much. So I think next time I just won't bring my work and I'll do it at home. You also get things done faster when you're not trying to, half hang out, half do work. It just never works. That's why I don't like writing with comics, like at a coffee shop or something like that. You try to get out of the house, get work done, but then you're with somebody you haven't seen in a while. So you end up just, shop talking, shooting the shit. How you doing? And now you're not really getting any work done. You're not really getting into any kind of meaningful conversation either, because you're sort of one foot in one world, one foot in the other. But, so anyways, having said that, I just will make sure I'm not doing that. But we did put a very fun little promo video on Facebook and Instagram. So if you happen to be one of those people that is actually following the One Man Podcast social medias, hopefully you're rewarded with a funny little video of Chris and I making lunch and doing a little promo for this interview. So we had a good time. We actually, Chris and his lovely wife, Rebecca, were actually kind enough to invite me for dinner as well, which is strange. You'd think you'd have had enough of me after like 5-6 hours, but no, let the games continue. Chris is also one of the people who's got me into board games. by suggesting them from time to time here on the podcast. Of course, I got to see the fabled vacuum cleaner that he got on Black Friday. It looks like, it's weird. It looks like a mop with a paint can. I don't know what the hell I'm allergic to, but that was a big sneeze. Excuse me. Yeah, it's just like a little stick vac. Like it just looks like a paint, like it's the tiniest little can on the end. You know, like a can of mixed nuts on one end, and then just like a bunch of little what a waste of money. I'm looking at this thing going, that thing was originally $600. It's like, it's good, it's great. Yeah, I did all my reviews. It's wonderful. So I had a chance to see everything he was telling me about in the email from last week. And again, thank you for that. We played some board games, which is fun. You know, we had a bottle of wine in the afternoon, so we got white girl wasted in the middle of the day on Wednesday. What else? We carried his barbecue out from the garage around to the backyard. Chris just moved into a new home, so they're still getting themselves situated and whatnot. So it was kind of fun to do that. Barbecuing in the middle of winter. We had, I gotta tell you, Chris is the absolute best housewife I've ever met. Chris is kind of like me, where he's got, availability during the days. He works sporadically during the day. So, it was interesting. He was showing me all the things he does around the house. So Chris cooks, Rebecca's gone during the day to work. And, it was just cool because he's got we're having hamburgers that he himself made. Right. So Chris gets his own, ground beef, and he mixes bacon into it and all that fun stuff. But then he's got one of those like burger, measuring devices that allows you to sort of make your own patties, and you stuff them all together into this little container. Chris, maybe you can send me an email that describes what it is, because I'm sure you'll feel the need to explain all the things that I'm misrepresenting on this podcast. But anyways, we had burgers for lunch that Chris made himself, and then we had pierogies as well. We had a new kind of lettuce that I'm sure you guys have seen before. They don't sell it at Costco, so I don't see it often. But it's like, what was it called? Like Boston lettuce or something like that. It's like these heads that you buy in a plastic container. These heads are way too good to be shipped, wrapped in plastic like the regular ones. No, these ones need like a poured molded, poured plastic mold lettuce container, and they look funny. I don't know. They look silly. They look like a rooted, like a big ball of alfalfa sprouts is the roots of these things. But anyways, we had those just as the mere lettuce on a burger. No. Top shelf for the least important thing on the burger. Then he had this like bacon maple mustard stuff. And I don't think it maybe had maple in it, but it was like bacon mustard. It was delicious. The burgers themselves were delicious. And then as a side, we had pierogies as well. So we're drinking red wine and having these massive burgers with pierogies. Both of us were like holding our stomachs afterwards. So full. But yeah, playing games. We had a great afternoon. And then of course, dinner time. Oh, let's take out the steaks that they've been marinating for God knows how long. And that was delicious. We had steaks for dinner. I can't remember what we had. Oh yeah, we had like corn and potatoes on the sides, but I just remember those steaks were goddamn delicious. It was a great time. And then, of course, I had a chance to meet the kiddos. I've met them very quickly in passing before, but it was cool because we actually got to talk to them and hang out a little bit that evening. But a great time. And then we played games into the later parts of the evening, and then had our tearful goodbyes. It was great. It was cool. It was great to have an opportunity to go hang out with my buddy during the day, someone with just as little to do during the day as I. And then, to an extent, of course. But yeah, we had a good time. I had a good time with my friends. It was a great night. And I just wanted to pay the proper respects on the podcast of saying thank you for having me over. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I looked forward to doing it again. And funny enough, on Thursday was when my shipment arrived with my books, and I got to say, DK, thank you again as always. I will give a jolly good proper ass kissing later on when we get to that part of the podcast where I profess from the rooftops my love of DK books. But I got a shipment DK, tons of great stuff, super excited. Thank you. And you know what? I actually have a Yankee Candle burning here. That's right. I'm Yankee Candle rich right now, and I've burned it several times. And I think maybe there's maybe a little bit of like soot from the old things. I'm not allergic to it. I've burned it for several times before, but I feel myself getting congested, and that's the only thing I can think of. That or these Coke Life, the first one I've had in a week or so. Well. Okay, so got my shipment from DK, and I immediately cracked open this week's book. I spent almost the entire day reading it. I have not had so much fun reading a book. And I'll tell you this, the other DK books, guys, I got to read them in little spurts. I bring them with me while I'm Ubering. I will go through them, because it's not to say that they're not gripping or riveting, but like they're interesting. But of course, like, to just tell yourself like, well, this week I'm going to learn about famous battles, or this week I'm going to learn about meditation. Like sometimes you're just not in the mood to read, and sometimes you're just not in the mood to read a particular subject. But I love their books, and I have a commitment to read and review one per week. So I do my due diligence to get through them. Some of them are so friggin' big, there's just no way. So once I start to get into particular whatever, you know what? I'm not going to tell you how the fucking sauce is made. All right. Point is, these books are goddamn gorgeous, and I read enough of them. I get as far as I can through them in a week's time, so that I can give you guys a proper analysis of the goddamn goodness inside the book. And if that's not good enough for you, well, then you go somewhere else. You know what? Google book podcasts. All right. And you can listen to goddamn book reports. All right. I am a high school dropout. All right. You think I was going out of my spurt? I couldn't even be bothered to do 10 arithmetic questions when I got home. All right. I was like, hey, homework. How about you go fuck yourself? I don't see a cop around. Yeah, you're on your own. And then I'd get my D and I'd go, and you're still pushing me forward because you don't want to deal with me again? Groovy. Let's do this next year. To the point where I'm like, all right, well, you know what? Since you guys won't fire me, I quit. And I dropped out. I think that's how it works. I think that's the very first, like, yeah, you can't fire me, I quit things for school, is just to drop out because, well, you're not going to hold me back, huh? Well, just going to keep plowing me through. And then eventually someday someone's going to give me a job and I'll be responsible for something important. Be the wrong guy at the wrong job or position, didn't check the right box, and all of a sudden someone's getting injected with something like that. Anyone would let me near anything of importance with medical or whatever. But you know what I'm saying, right? I'm sure every one of us at some point has been worried about the state of affairs of like, how the fuck did I get on this subject? It's fun to run down these neurological fucking, dirt roads that my brain will take me on. But can you imagine that? Like that's the things that I think about every time I hear like kids don't fail anymore and stuff like that. There's a lot of different arguments and stuff. That's why kids commit more suicide now. It's not necessarily just the bullying, but it's like the idea of like 15 years straight of zero failure. Right? Like automatic, expected, entitled success, or achievement, let's say, for lack of a better term. And then all of a sudden they go out and get try to get a job in the world where they can't get anything but McDonald's, or they can't get a job. They're like, oh my God. And I assume they blow that's what I don't need to speculate on that. The point being is that I find that interesting, right? So then you're going to have, I at least like the idea that I could fail, I failed a lot of fucking tests. I had a math teacher one time for an entire year that every single math test he knew, like I would show up in class and everyone would take out your books and everyone else would take out their math textbook. And I would take out whatever book I was reading and just read through the class. Like he knew I didn't give a shit. He knew I was going to take my fail, but I showed up and every test, just so that I'd get like a mark on it, he'd be like, man, on the back of the test, write a poem. On the back of the test, draw a picture. And I remember one time I drew a picture of him teaching the class, but he was always have sweat stains in his armpits. And I drew him pointing at the board with the sweat stains in his armpits. I was really fucking mouthy. Thanks for the free question point. That's a courtesy to me. Appreciate it. Here's you with sweaty armpits. What a prick. I'm telling you, everyone thinks I'm, everyone's like, oh, you're funny. I'm like, yeah, it took a lot of trial and error. Let me tell you, I put in those 10,000 hours of just being obnoxious. I still am, obviously, sometimes, but, I've learned how to tilt the needle in my favor, to make it better, just so it's more tolerable to others. That's what I spoke with, I'll tell you guys a little bit later on. I said to Chris on Wednesday and to his wife that evening that Chris is very, very funny. I really find his emails entertaining and well written, and that he's funny. He should, should try to work that muscle, And then I saw them again the other night. I went to hang out with them again. They weren't doing anything. It was after a promo. And Rebecca looked at me. She's like, this, Chris was telling a couple stupid jokes. And she's like, this is what happens when you tell him he's funny. Like you the other day telling him he's funny. It's been like this nonstop. So I saw them on Wednesday, and then I hung out with them again on Saturday night. And again, good time on Saturday night. We had played some games. Had a good time. Had some drinky poos. So having said all that about fucking scholastic systems, all I'm saying is this goddamn high school dropout underachiever doesn't do his homework. The fact that I put my nose in a book and read a lot of it every week is just saying a lot. But The book that I got this week from DK, man, I dove right into it and I did not stop. Now, DK's books always have a lot of good imagery in them, right? Which is one of the reasons I like them, right? Because I like picture books. I don't know how to read that good. Sorry, something fell off the desk. I got all my little props and things that I use, reminders to talk to you guys on the desk here. But yeah, like a lot of DK's books, in fact, all of them are very, very imagery focused. And this book is no exception. However, the first part of the book is just like a forward. It's black on white writing, right? So it's just black and white. The stuff that basically makes my eyes roll back in my head and makes me want to go to sleep. But I was telling you just in the interview, and you'll hear this later on in the episode, but I was just saying how like glued to the book I was. Like I was just glancing at it first. I figured, okay, I'm going to read the foreword. And I just started reading, and I was wicked into this book very quickly and just so fascinated by everything going on. Again, I'll do this more later on, but I spent my whole Thursday reading this thing to the point where in the evening when the roommates started to come home, I remember I had read some stuff about the movie Sideways in it, which is a movie about, obviously big characters, but also a lot about wine, two guys in wine country. And I was talking to Simon about, Simon's got a big movie collection. I was like, hey man, do you have Sideways? He's like, no, but I thought about buying it the other day. So our evening ended up being us driving out to like one of those used DVD stores, picking up the movie, right? We grabbed the pizza, came back, and I drank a bottle of Santa Carolina Merlot provided to me by my wonderful friend Vanessa in London, Ontario. Thank you so much. AKA Red. My pal Red brought me a nice bottle of red wine. For those of you who may not know this, I'll give you a little spoiler for my review later on is in the movie Sideways, the main character Miles hates Merlot. He actually like shits on it like it's like the shittiest wine. And I would imagine that anybody who maybe when they were younger, like me, trying red, probably ended up trying a Merlot and didn't think much of it because it's kind of light. Like to me, Merlot is not one of my favorites either. Not to say that's a bad wine. It's just not one of my favorites. It's a very, oh Jesus, I don't want to be a prick. To me, it's a boring red. But it works. It's a lot of places if you go and there's table wine and stuff, it's there. It's a lot of house menus, for wine because it's doesn't take any chances in any particular direction. All right. It is, as the young kids would say, incredibly vanilla, but even vanilla is good, right? I really can't think of it. Anyways, point being is that in the book, when they were referring to the Merlot section, they had something that they called the Sideways effect. So in the movie Sideways, he absolutely detests Merlot and is a big fan of Pinot Noir. Now, Pinot Noir, so what they're saying is the Sideways effects was after this movie was out, there was a huge drop in Merlot sales in the United States and a huge increase in Pinot Noir sales. Because of just this movie and how big the movie was and what people were like, oh, really? Well, I don't want to be, unsophisticated with wine and stuff. So they started switching to Pinot Noir and not Merlot, which in turn forced Merlot manufacturers and makers to sort of up their game because they're like, oh, now everyone's looking down their nose at our, this particular category. So there's a little fun fact for you there. But I got that from the book. And I decided that since there was only one bottle of Merlot in my collection, that I would drink that and watch as a little sort of haha to the movie. Because again, he loses his shit. He's like, they're meeting these two girls, these two ladies for a dinner. And the one guy talks to him and says, listen, we're going to sit. We're going to have a nice time with them. If they order Merlot, we're not going to make a scene. And he goes, no, not at all. If they order Merlot, I'm leaving. I said, I'm not drinking any fucking Merlot. Like that mad about Merlot. So anywho, so I read the book. Simon and I watched the movie, had a great time. Friday, I had the interview. I had the interview with the lovely Carolyn Evans Hammond about her book, and I will play that for you guys a little bit later on. And then I got to spend some time. I was hanging out with Crystal Friday afternoon, Friday evening. So I had my my first. Crystal said I'd been before, but I really don't remember it. Now I remember that I've been, but I didn't think I'd been to Red Lobster before. Again, not a seafood guy. My regular podcast listeners know that. Crystal and I went out east last year and tried stuff fresh from the ocean, and still just in terms of lobster, not my cup of tea. Now, we did have a really, really good meal. Coconut shrimps and things like that. And I had fish tacos because I fell in love with them this year. So, every meal in LA that had tacos had fish tacos with it, as well as whatever else I had. So that was good. And then we watched Jim Carrey's show on Crave TV. I don't know where they have it in the States. Again, there's nothing that's, Jim Carrey that's only accessible in Canada. But I thought it's called Kidding. And I thought it was like a children's show. I thought it was like a fun little kid's show, and it's not. It's a drama about a guy who's, the Mr. Rogers neighborhood kind of guy of the kid, whatever. He's a TV personality for children. He's a kids show host. Jesus Christ, how is that so hard to say? So but he's got like a dark inner side. So have you ever seen the movie Death to Smoochie with Robin Williams and Edward Norton? Like kind of something like that. Like, kids show hosts with dark sides and stuff. Watched a couple of episodes of that. I don't have Crave TV, but I wouldn't mind seeing more of it. If you guys have seen it, let me know what you think. But yeah, I did that. Saturday, I played a lot of Grand Theft Auto because I didn't have anything to do until the afternoon. I thought I fucked up my times for the LCBO promo I had to do. So I came, I thought when I woke up in the morning, I thought I had to be at work for like 12. So I sort of I sort of dragged ass. I played a little bit of, Grand Theft Auto there. And then I looked and it turned out I wasn't working until 4. So I was like, oh, well, now I fucked around all morning. I could have gone and done something. But now that, I'm only adding 2 more out, whatever. Point being is I just played video games all goddamn day. Until my shift. So I would have liked to have been more productive, but I wasn't. And this is where I may lose some of you in terms of interest level, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm a completionist of video games. So when I'm playing a game like Grand Theft Auto, where there's a million things that you can collect and a million things that you can do, and you got to do all this stuff before you can unlock the trophies and stuff, I do it. And I hit a bug in the game where I actually can't complete everything on this particular playthrough. And it's not like, I missed, something in the storyline or whatever. It's actually just a bug where something won't trigger and therefore I can't, complete it. So, I have spent like a reasonable amount of time lately, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, but in those types of games where it's like, you got to go over a certain amount of like stunt jumps, you have to fly under a certain amount of bridges, like just things where you're just it's basically, this is my interpretation of it, is you're showcasing the map, everything that these people have done to design a game and design a world where it's just wide open. And you're just like, fuck, somebody designed every last ounce of this. Like I think that they put things like, hey, fly under all these bridges, make sure you take pictures of all these animals just to showcase like, hey, we didn't put a bunch of goddamn animals in the game so you could just not notice them. So if you want to complete everything, you got to go out there and take a picture of all these animals just to have seen them and experienced where they are, to draw you out to those areas of the map, right? Fly under bridges that you may not have even known were there, just to appreciate the fact that someone designed them, do stunt jumps and things like that. So some of the stuff is designed. Anyways, I've been doing all that shit. They call it the old achievement mop-ups after the game. Once you've completed the main story and things like that, well, now you got to go around mopping up all the stuff that you left behind. So that's what I've been doing. And that's why I was up so late last night, as I'm down to the nitty-gritty, the last few things of Grand Theft Auto before moving into the gigantic and vast world of Red Dead Redemption 2. Chris, when I was at Chris's house, he was playing it. So he showed me his game and a bunch of the stuff that you can do. So, that's why I'm trying to finish Grand Theft Auto. I saved that game for the longest amount of time just because, I was excited to play it. I knew it was going to be fun. And I've waited too long to the point where the next Rockstar masterpiece has come out. And, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready yet, damn it. It's out. And I don't know what to, now I got to do all the Grand Theft Auto stuff. So, yeah, and my neuroses last night had me. Yesterday, I spent time flying under all the bridges and doing the knife flight stuff. So, anyways, just my gamers will know what that is. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of grind. It's basically me sitting in front of my, a computer on one side and the game on the other, and just watching videos of how to fly under stuff and then repeating it and messing up a bunch of times and screaming at the TV and, having roommates go, "Are you okay?" That didn't actually happen, but that's been me in the past. Screaming at the TV. Everyone's like, "Can you just fucking calm down? You really are swearing a lot. Do you have to be, why are you so mad?" So yeah, I've had a fun week, guys. You know what I mean? Like I said, I got to do a lot of fun stuff. I did the last, LCBO thing where I'm, dressed up like a Christmas elf answering questions about wine. But I'll tell you, since I had the book, I took it with me and I used it to the Good, Better, Best wines that I'll be reviewing later on. I used that to show people just the glory of this book and how to make use of it while you're out and about. I really do think it's a great book, and that anyone who has even the slightest bit of interest in wine should do this. Excuse me. I did an event on Sunday for Air Canada, and a couple of pieces of information for Air Canada. I don't want to jinx anything, but I spoke with someone last week, and I don't know if I told you guys this. I don't know if I applied for it already, but I applied for some jobs for Air Canada to work in the airport, to work as a flight attendant. Ha 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 ha. Make all the same fucking jokes, but I actually had them call me back and offer me an interview for Air Canada. And that was actually, I thought it was originally scheduled for today. And I guess my brain hadn't fixed it in my head. So I actually expected their interview this morning early on. And, I was sort of puttering around doing nothing for like 25 minutes before I finally pulled up the calendar and saw that it's actually been rescheduled for tomorrow. So I won't be able to tell you guys how that goes until next podcast. But I've been offered a job. Well, sorry, I apologize. I've been offered an interview as a flight attendant, and I'm working on an interview for the customer service rep here in Ottawa Airport. So flight attendants apparently have to sort of primarily work out of Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. Or Vancouver, I should say. And which means that there's a good chance if I was to get that job that I should move. Now, it might be the kick in the pants that I need to get out of Ottawa because I'll have a job lined up, or the alternative is if I get the customer service job here in Ottawa, I don't have to leave home. I would never even get on the plane. I would just be working out of the airport, which currently I feel is ideal for me. I'll always have that opportunity to switch to something else, but the way they talk about it. Now, here's why I bring this up is the event that I did on Sunday was for Air Canada. So I was actually hosting something at the Canadian Tire Center for the Ottawa Senators, with Air Canada, and they brought in a ton of staff. So I actually got to meet pilots. I got to meet the ground team. I got to meet engineers. I got to meet some of the managers and support staff. And I even got to meet some of the team from the ground crew, like not the ground crew, sorry, but the customer service crew, one of the jobs that I applied for here in Ottawa. So I actually got to talk to them and ask them the differences between, doing the job here and doing the job on the planes. And they actually gave me a ton of information, sort of helping me to decide what would work better and whatnot. So, maybe when I have any more information, I'll go into that in depth. But, yeah, I mean, flight attendants make more, but they also only get paid when they're, actually in the air, right? So there's a lot of going to the airport, waiting for a plane to take off. What they were telling me is if your flight gets delayed by 2 hours, well, you're not getting paid for that, so you're just sort of sitting in an airport waiting to do your job. You might have to finish, you might finish your day in Toronto and now you're in Toronto. It's not to say that they don't take care of you, to put you up and stuff, but you're not at home. You're now in Toronto, just sort of doing nothing, And alternatively, if I stayed living in Ottawa to be a flight attendant, I would have to pay to get myself to Montreal or Toronto to do my shift. So I might have to show up at the airport, fly to Toronto, and then they're obviously reduced rates for employees, but the idea is you're paying to go make X amount of dollars. There was factors to consider. Again, when I know more, these were the things that they were telling me. But they were saying how they're very excited. They loved working with me for the promo. They're like, you have great energy. You'd be a great fit for the team. Shaking hands with some of the managers and stuff like that. And they were giving me their email addresses. So I have the interview for the flight attendant position tomorrow. But I think that the ground team here in Ottawa is really where my interests are leaning right now. Same benefits, same travel discounts, all that stuff. So there's a little bit of good news for me. And we had a good time at the event, signing people up for basically just the fan flight contest. So just two tickets to go see Ottawa play Tampa in Tampa. So it's 2 tickets to the game, 2 nights stay in Tampa. 2 airfares round trip and some fun swag and gifts and things like that. So it was a cool event. Everyone had a blast. Air Canada did amazing in terms of like the team that they sent and the visibility and everything like that. It was a great time. And then yesterday, Monday, okay, this was a good day for me, internally. My mental health and just my self-esteem, right? How I felt good about myself because I got up in the morning and I Ubered. And then when I left, I brought my gym bag with me because I was like, this afternoon gym stuff is hard. It's too hard. I get in, I get comfortable, I get doing something else. And then I don't want to go to the gym. I look outside, it's rush hour, it's snowing. I don't want to go in traffic and sweat in the cold. So yesterday I brought my gym bag with me and I Ubered. And the second that I didn't feel like Ubering anymore, I went straight to the gym and I went and I did my 30 minutes of cardio on the elliptical. I did my drop sets, as I understand they're called. I thought they were called supersets, but I was corrected by my good buddy Jeff at Good Life, who said that no, supersets are like working, opposite pairs of muscles. Drop sets are where you drop the weight down and do what you can until you're just out. So I did leg drop sets. My ass is killing me today because I did like glutes and all that fun stuff. Went to Costco and I got some veggies and some apples and fruits and things like that. Just good stuff. And I bought a few like little gifts this year. So this year money's a little bit tighter. I do have a new vehicle coming. I've told you guys about that. And I actually got confirmation yesterday as well. Sort of when it's coming and whatnot. There was a bit of a thing, whatever. And I'm not sure how interesting it is or, it's whatever. Fuck, it is what it is. I signed up to get the vehicle in like September or October. Right. And you get approval or whatever. But the thing is, once you get approval, apparently, the bank only approves you for 3 months. And of course, buying a car shouldn't take that long. But in my case, the vehicles were, at a promo because of the fact that, they weren't available until January. So it's like, hey, buy it now, get it in January, thumbs up. Well, I went through my bank as opposed to the Honda financing. And apparently those approvals are only good for like 3 months. So even though I got approved, they're like, hey, if the vehicles, they found out if the vehicle's not available, like if there's no VIN number, no contract to sign, they're not really in a position where, like we basically have to go for reapproval. So for the last couple months, I've been kind of like, well, let's see what happens. I've had a lot of expenses since then, the LA trip and, hitting potholes that I shouldn't hit, shit like that. I'm like, they've sort of filled up some of my breathing room. So I'm like, I don't know if my credit, now that the cards are more full, it's a little personal again. And I know a lot of people don't like talking about their own finances. I don't really give a shit. I'm just being honest. Part of me was like, well, if they try, like they basically have to reapprove me again once they know more, which may change the interest levels and stuff like that. So I spoke with my buddy Narong and yesterday, and he was like, good news, your vehicle's coming in January. At least the ETA currently is mid to late January, which is around the time of my birthday. It'd be great for it to show up right around the time of my birthday. But anyways, vehicle's coming. And he had said that they'd already pushed the reapproval, so we're good. It'll be covered right up until, whenever the vehicle shows up. So I was like, all right, well, that's great. So yeah, that's coming. However, it's coming in January, which means that I need to buy winter tires, rims, a bunch of other shit, weather mats and all that stuff. So right now, Christmas is going to be tough. And this is also actually one of the quietest years I've had in terms of corporates. Absolute Comedy does very well by me, but usually every year there's a bunch of new Christmas parties. And the issue this year is that it's all the same ones, which is great for business. You want repeat customers. Problem is, in my industry, is that you don't send the same comics you've already sent. Every time it's a new show, Jason will generally speaking send me and some of the other stronger guys the first time around. And the reason being is he knows I'm going to do a good job. He knows I'm going to give a shit about the setup. He knows that, I want the event to be successful. I'm also fucking hilarious. So it's just, it's nice that I get new gigs when they come. The problem is when there's a year with no new gigs, and I've done them within the last few years, you got to give them a different show. If they start getting the same show every single year, they're just going to stop. They want something new and exciting. So you got to cycle the comics. That's just good business. right? You wouldn't go to a movie theater that had the same fucking movie playing just all year long, right? You got to have variety. So basically all the shows this year, I've got 1 or 2 on the calendar and some that I booked my own, but generally speaking, Christmas is a crazy busy time for me, and having something like snow tires and rims and all that shit to buy wouldn't normally be a big deal. But this year it's tight. It's tight. So, doing every year, me and the roommates and I will do a little Christmas sort of evening, which is always great. It's great hanging out with them. You know, we have some drinks, play some games, do a gift exchange. It's fun. But this year I'm going to have to be really tight, very tight. So I actually picked up some stuff yesterday at Costco for Kamar and Simon. And I'll just have to get it wrapped up soon before anyone sees their things. But it's like, it's not completely uninspired, but it's just kind of disappointing that, like, you know, like last year I was actually able to get people stuff that I knew they'd really like and actually spend some money. Unfortunately, this year is not going to be the case. So I'm following it up very, very, very lightly this time. You know, hey, the sequel's never as good as the original. What can I say? So it's yeah, I mean, like, with Kamar, I'm disappointed in the gift only because, like, I know with this podcast, I want to get him something, you know, to support his podcast, just something that's like, that I know he's interested. Simon's simple. I got him something I know he'll be happy with. It's just, the issue is I just wish, you know, with Kamar's, I'm, you know, I know you're listening, so I got something that I know you'll like, but it's you know, it's certainly not the wireless headphones that I got him that last year. You know, that was a dope gift. So, yeah, it is a far fall from grace. It's like one of those movies that was amazing and super popular, and then like Disney does the straight to video release of the next year. Like none of the actors are the same. Like everyone of any level of talent has jumped ship. That's my gift for Kamar this year. But know that I'm remorseful, and I still have time, you know. I mean, it's going to be the 12th when this comes out. I still have time, and I just try not to break the bank. I don't know what to get for Jason at all. And I still have other people on my list. I don't know what to get for my mother. I'd like to get something for the kids, but I have no idea what to get them. So suggestions would be super appreciated, guys. Like, what are some really cool items that people are aware of this year? You know, maybe from people who don't get excited about vacuum cleaners. All right. I'm just kidding. Like, I don't know. Has anyone seen any cool new things out this year? Like, I mentioned this in the interview later. I have something in mind for someone, but again, it's really out of budget, you know, and for something that really might not get used that often or might not make a difference, I really don't know that I can do it. The woes of Christmas spending, right? We all go through this, guys. I'm not especially cursed. Just saying that's where my head's at. All right. So I went to Costco and I poked around, looked for stuff. I've also got the gift exchange with my friends coming up this weekend, so that's going to be fun. I got a gift, which I hope is not, you know, it's a nice gift, you know, but, who knows? They really lowered the gift exchange, revenue too. Like one year, I may have mentioned this in the podcast before, but one year we did we do what's called, it's not Secret Santa. We do, God, there's got to be a better name for it, but this is the only one I know. Is the Chinese Christmas, where, you know, where like everyone brings a gift wrapped, and then one person, you know, they draw a name, and then that person gets to open a gift, and then the next person who gets drawn can either take that person's gift or open a new one, right? And it's just a fun event. If anyone knows a better name, please tell me, because Chinese Christmas, even though it's not like, there's nothing wrong with saying Chinese Christmas, but the idea that like that's the element of like stealing someone else's gift, like they don't, you know, the Chinese are not exactly Christian, right? So to be like, oh, it's Chinese Christmas. Like, I'm fascinated about the origin. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Let's do it. Let's do that thing where I Google it. I'm going to go on my phone. Chinese Christmas. Let's see what comes up. Chinese Christmas. It's Tuesday, December 25th. What do you know? Christ was born at the same time in China. I put Chinese Christmas in it. It's trying to tell me just the day Christmas Day is. How do they celebrate Christmas? Chinese Christmas in China. Is Christmas celebrated in China? Wow, who asked that? How do Chinese people celebrate? Come on, the Christmas traditions, and come on. Chinese Christmas Okay, watch it not even be a thing. One person told me and I just went with it. Owners of unlocked gifts must keep them visible and hold them up when requested. Okay. Chinese Christmas rules. Here we go. Okay. Chinese Christmas gift exchange. White elephant gift exchange. Okay. Yeah, let's do there. So there's the better one. So let's go white elephant rules. How about that? White elephant rules. White elephant rules. Okay. Official white elephant gift exchange rules. So this is what we do every year. A white elephant gift exchange is a popular Christmas event where people vie to walk away with the best present. Oh, indeed they do. It also goes by Yankee Swap, Dirty Santa, and a plethora of other names. All right, well then there's a ton. I like Dirty Santa because it just sounds gross. The white elephant game is played by a lot of different rule sets, some dead simple and others confusingly elaborate. Here are the basic rules. 1. Each player brings one wrapped gift to contribute to a common pool. The gift exchange organizer should provide information on what type of gift people should bring. 2. Players draw numbers to determine what order they will go in. Okay, or you can just draw them, round after round. Alternatively, someone can draw names from a hat, or the order can be set by the organizer prior to the event. 3. Players sit in a circle or line where they are, sit in a circle or line where they can see this. That's why no punctuation hurts your thing. All right, grammar is important. Players sit in a circle or line where they can see the gift pile. To make things easier, everyone should sit in the order in which they take their turns. Okay. 4. The first player selects a gift from the pool and opens it. Make sure everyone can see the gift. 5. The following players can choose to either pick an unwrapped gift from the pool or steal a previous player's gift. Anyone who gets their gift stolen in this way can do the same. Choose a new gift. Can do the same. So choose a new gift or steal from someone else. To keep things moving along, there are a couple of limits on gift swapping. A present can only be stolen once per turn, which means players who have a gift stolen from them have to wait to get it back. After 3 swaps, the turn automatically comes to an end. Otherwise, things could drag on for a long time. See popular variations below for other possible twists. And 6, after all players have had a turn, the first player gets a chance to swap the gift he or she is holding for any other open gift. Oh, that's fun. Anyone whose gift is stolen may steal from someone else as long as that person hasn't been stolen from yet. When someone declines to steal a gift, the game comes to an end. Okay, that's that very end, I see. Note that this last extra turn, the 3 swap rule, doesn't apply. Players can keep swapping until someone decides to stand pat or that there are no other eligible people to steal from. Popular variations. When the above rules are as close to the vanilla version of the game as you can get, there's really no right or wrong way to play. Over the years, many new ideas have been incorporated into the gift swap game with the aim of keeping the game moving and or making it more strategic. Here are some rule tweaks many people use. 3 swaps and you're out. If you get stolen from 3 times during the game, you are out of the game and can no longer be stolen from. 3 swaps and the gift is out. That's the one we play. If a present gets stolen 3 times, it's out of the game and the person who holds it gets to walk away with it. Yeah, that's the one we do. No extra turn, no extra swapping. Poem, story, gift themes. All right, there's a bunch of shit here, but that's basically what we were going for. So you guys get the idea. Is you basically you open a new gift or you steal one that's previously. But once a gift has been stolen 3 times, that's it. It's unstealable. So unteefable. We didn't play that last one either, where the first person gets to swap again. We haven't played that way, so we should probably incorporate that in, or I should at least suggest it. And if any of my lovely friends are still podcast listeners, let me know what you guys think. But 1 year. And I may have mentioned this last year, but 1 year they had a printer on sale at Costco for like $40, $39.99. I was like, oh, we had a $40 limit, right? Because everyone's only just buying one gift. We had a $40 limit. And I was like, oh, I'm going to buy this printer because I can't imagine what the other gifts are, but this one's probably going to be pretty popular. Like, leave with a couple boxes of cookies. You're going to leave with a fucking printer. And that's to say, like, who doesn't have a printer at this point? But even still, that's a great fucking gift. Just because sometimes these white Christmas parties or white elephant parties or games, what you end up with isn't exactly something you can use, but sometimes it's so kind of like, you can't even re-gift that shit. But imagine you walked away with a printer, you're like, fuck, I just got a gift that I can make use of for somebody in my life. It saves you, it looks like $100 gift or, anyways. So that's what I brought 1 year. And here's the thing. I was like, oh, everyone's going to fight over this printer. And the fucking printer, biggest gift on the table, didn't get open until dead last. And we don't do that last thing swap rule. So it was just kind of like, oh, I'll keep this. And that was it. So I was like looking forward to this like swapping back and forth thing. My expectations. But it's a fun game. I'm looking forward to that. So I got the gift that I were bringing this year. They'd said like, oh, let's do a $15 limit. What the fuck can you get for $15 anymore? I'm like, let's do like at least $20, guys. Come on, at least $20. Let's fucking, come on. So got that, and then I went and I did a show at Absolute Comedy last night. Just did a little feature spot on the Open Mic Monday show. The crowd was but they were like that for all the comics. So there's a lot of comics that are brand new. That's what Open Mic Mondays is. And the crowd was just really not letting them have anything, which I thought really sucked because these comics were trying particularly hard. They had brought some good stuff and the crowd was just, yeah. So I was on at the end of the show and I just went out there and was like, you know what? Okay. So my buddy Mika's messaging me right now telling me, he's been on the podcast before and inspiring. I am ordering his audiobook. Okay. Thanks, Meeks. I'm reading your text message right now, and if you're listening to the podcast, you'll know exactly the moment that your text came in. Excuse me. Anywho, the fuck was I talking about? That's how easy it is to knock my horse off the thing. Oh yeah, the crowd was being garbage. So I just figured, you know what? I can go out and I can try new material, and I can just hate it because the crowd's kind of shitty, or I can just shoot the shit with them, right? It's like you got options as a comic. Like, do I go out there and try my new stuff for a crowd that's been kind of like arms crossed and meh to everybody, or do I go and do tried and true material and, do absolutely nothing? Or I go option C, which is to go out there and just do crowd work and give them shit for being a shitty crowd. And I'm sure you can imagine what option Josh went with, but it went great. Like I had them cracked open. I had people yelling like, oh my God, this guy's fucking great. Like, and that's like the person I just shit on yelling. Like, people come up to me after the show and we're like, "Oh my God!" Like, I was hoping, like, I didn't want to talk to you, but I didn't want you to talk to me, but I was like, I really want you to talk to me. I'm like, I don't. They're like, well, like I was worried. Like, I know you'd fucking, I don't like, being the center of attention, but like you were so funny. Like, I definitely wanted you to like rip on me and stuff. Comics were like, oh man, I really loved your comics revenge. I'm like, my what? I'm like, I didn't do anything but they're like, no, that's like what it's called. Like when a comic goes up there and like yells at the crowd. I'm like, oh. I don't know stuff, but it wasn't Comics Revenge, it was called Josh Doesn't Want to Work or Feel Shitty Afterwards. So that's what I did. I don't know. I had fun though. That was my week, guys. A couple other things. Avengers Endgame trailer is out, and I'm a big nerd for the Marvel movies. You guys know that this week has been a great week for Marvel trailers for me. The second trailer for Captain Marvel came out, and now I'm even more excited to see that. And the first trailer for Avengers Endgame is out. So what happened after the snapping? Huh? You can find a little taste as to what's to come if you just, Google Avengers Endgame. Go to YouTube or something, and you can watch the trailer for that. That was a lot of fun. Super exciting. Like I said, I gotta start after the podcast is over. I gotta run out and see if I can start getting some prices on winter tires and stuff. Direct spending is bad, but you gotta do it. I got a thing too, right in the mail, right before, like I went downstairs to grab a glass for my drink, and I get these every year, and I don't know if you guys get them, and I don't know how I feel about it. Okay, so a lot of things, like I have started getting a lot of mail about hearing aids and things like that in the last year, or more, and I actually kind of want to give my, some shit to the people that sold me my CPAP machine, because I'm getting mail for like hearing aids and walkers and all sorts of old people shit, and I think the reason is because I have a sleep apnea machine, right? So it's kind of like, it's maybe more known with like older people that need help with breathing. It's like, no, that's just me. Josh, he cashes in early, right? Fucking he quits early. I dropped out of life too, in terms of the health aspect. So now they're like, oh, this guy's got a sleep apnea machine. He's probably old and decrepit. So I get all sorts of promos and things like that for, hearing aids and dentures and all sorts of fucking old people shit. And it's funny. Yeah, like you guys, I don't know if you guys get that shit, right? It's basically like there's constant promos, but one of the things that I get every year, and this is the first time I got this one, was, like those Christmas time calendars from like Remax or whatever, like the local, real estate people who don't, it's such a waste of money. Like, have you ever looked at a tiny little 2-inch by 4-inch calendar from them going, you know what? That's really nice. I'm going to buy a house from them. I'm going to make the biggest purchase that I can buy from these twats because they sent me a tiny little fucking calendar. I mean, it's a nice gesture. That's not lost on me. But it's also not lost on me that they're doing it because they want you to buy from them. So I'm kind of like, you know what? Up the fucking ante, man. You know, if you're going to waste money, go fucking, why don't you send a bottle of fucking eggnog to my door, huh? Why don't you do something? I mean, again, I'm not buying a house because you give me goddamn eggnog, but I'm just saying, like, if you want me to, you know, throw a fucking gift card in there, you know, just something that makes me believe you actually, I mean, and again, I know that's completely unfeasible, but it's just like, you're wasting, like, print is not easy. I do promo all the time. It costs for paper products, costs for mail, costs for all that. What's the fucking point? You know, I'm not opening that. I would love for anyone to email into me to tell me that one time you got a fucking, you know, free thing from the local Remax, and you were like, man, and then I went out and I bought it from them. Yeah, no, it changed my whole day. Changed my whole day. Magnets, right? They send you the Christmas cards every year. That's what I'm talking about. You know, the Christmas cards. I get the stuff from the Humane Society where it's like every month they send me calendars and stickers, and it's like, Stop wasting the money I'm giving you on bullshit I don't need, right? It's for the animals, whatever. I'm going to get fired up. I don't mean to, but I just find that shit wasteful to begin with, you know? But then, like, at Christmas time when they're all sending me Christmas cards, and it's generic, right? It's not personalized. So it's just kind of like, meh, just wishing of you and yours and this family. It's like, fuck yourself. Just because I don't need the waste. Don't waste your money. I don't give a fuck. It's a business move. Like, here's one of the things that I really did like was Crystal had clients every year, but every year Crystal would do a new interesting card for her clients. You know, like she would do a shoot with the kids. So she would personalize it was her family. And she had so many really cool ones. One of them I remember specifically, like just in terms of being able to describe it, was she had all these different pictures of the kids. And the kids were like next to the tree. So they'd either be like holding an ornament or, you know, holding garland wrapped around them, whatever. And like one of them, I think, if I remember correctly, Brody was dressed in like a brown shirt with his arms up. So it looked like, you know, and then one Michaela holding up the star. You know, they're just holding up the star. But the idea was that the way Crystal arranged the pictures on the card, it looked like a Christmas tree. And each picture of the kid was an element. It was fucking amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It's basically a bunch of pictures. And of course, too, keep in mind, she's a photographer too. So to send a Christmas card with pictures and stuff gives great ideas for other people doing holiday stuff. So again, at the end of the day, yeah, it's advertisement, but it was also something that she did. These were pictures that were only on her Christmas cards. So only her clients, existing clients. This was not a new acquisition clientele thing too, by the way. It wasn't like everyone in the neighborhood got one. This was existing clients who had already come through. This was just a happy holidays, thinking of you guys in this time. Thank you for everything this year, blah, 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 blah. So that kind of stuff I do find is different, but this whole like, hey, like this is what I got today. A special invitation for you or a loved one. And it's an old lady standing in what looks like a European street with a beret on. I don't even get it. She's like sort of half holding her. Okay, so what is? I haven't read it yet. I just saw it. I was like, oh, and there's nothing here. Nothing that says my name. Nothing. Just the generic one. So, and then on the back it said, find the. I think when I opened it, this was what I saw first. Find the Chartwell in your neighborhood. Don't know what Chartwell is. So let's read it. Are you considering retirement living? This is a first, and yes, constantly considering just throwing in the fucking towel and being done with this goddamn life. For yourself or a loved one. Can you imagine? You know what? I'm thinking about fucking cutting this one off. You know, yeah, I'm thinking about making them retire. What do you think? What do you got for me? Chartwell Retirement Residences has 13 retirement communities across the greater Ottawa region. Meaning, you know what? Fuck you, Chartwell. I'm too lazy to go back and edit this, but you're getting free goddamn advertisement. I'm going to call you and I'm going to get you to send me like 4 puddings or something like that from, you know, or you got to hire me to do shows, right? I don't give a fuck. I won't feel like I'm bombing because everyone will be asleep. I've done retirement shows before too, and they're all asleep before we even start the show, which is just awful. Just go out and it's a bunch of people in wheelchairs, and it's like the nurses push them around too. So it's just like a body in a chair that didn't bring itself into the room, isn't going to be bringing itself out of the room. doesn't care that you're talking. It probably doesn't even know where it is. Just laying there sleeping in a chair. Like, fuck. God, those places are depressing. But if I have any listeners in retirement homes, hey, look at you figuring out how podcasts and technology work, huh? Nurses stealing your money. What the fuck is wrong with me? Doesn't matter. I start to get ahead and then I just act like a prick. I'm sorry. So yeah, meaning there's likely a Chartwell in your neighborhood. Oh, I sure hope there is. Nothing like fucking... Call us today to book a private visit before December 31st, 2018. Yeah, you better get them in sooner, huh? You never know those expiry dates. And get a free Let's Get Started package. Oh my God, you mean you're going to give me the advertisements and I don't have to pay for it? Wow, you guys are nice. Our team can't wait to meet you. I'm sure they can't. So yeah, I always find that. Can you imagine like again, I want to know, do you guys like getting the fucking generic Christmas cards? I'm sure we all get them from one business or another that's trying to get our goddamn money, but I you know what? I actually feel sad for the people who get this and are like, "Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice?" You know, the ones who are like, they're so lonely that they get their little floating shelf in their bachelor apartment, you know, or the room, and they're just putting all the Remax and real estate ones up there, the sleep apnea postcards and everything like that. Oh, look at these people. They all love me. All right. Well, that was bleak. That's all I'm talking about right now. You know what I mean? So give me your gift ideas, guys. Tell me if you hate Christmas cards from businesses like I do. You know, what's going on with you? Contact at onemanpodcast.com, guys. And I will tell you all about it. I had a great time at the hockey game. You know, that was probably like one of the highlights. I mean, I really wasn't looking forward to it because it was cold as hell and it was a long promo. But after meeting the Air Canada people and having a good time, boy, I enjoyed myself. What a magical little thing right before Christmas. And that leads us directly into my partners at portablepress.com. Uncle John's Bathroom Readers. This week I'm going to be reading In the Nature of Hockey. I'll be reading Shoots and Scores. Uncle John's Bathroom Readers, Shoots and Scores. Tons of hockey trivia in this one. Just hockey stories, hockey trivia. And the article I picked because it's Christmas time, or holiday time, or Jewish time, or, I know it's not called Jewish time. It's Hanukkah, you know? It's also Kwanzaa. I'm not going to just be a dick and make something up for the Middle Eastern holidays, but there's a lot of Christians in the Middle East. You know, whatever. It's the holidays. It's cold and it's nice to have lights and hot chocolate. All right. That's what I'm getting at. So the point is, this article is called So Be Good for Goodness Sake. Nothing throws the bah humbug into a Christmas celebration quite like one of hockey's bitterest rivalries. In December 2003, when the New York Islanders offered anyone dressed as Santa Claus a free ticket to a pre-Christmas game against the Philadelphia Flyers, the idea was to add holiday spirit to and fill a few empty seats in Nassau Coliseum. They even invited the 1,000 faux Santas onto the ice for a parade between periods. What the Islanders' promotions department didn't count on was a trio of St. Nick's throwing off their red and white coats to reveal the red and blue jerseys of the Islanders' enemies, the New York Rangers. The bitter intrastate rivalry regularly features as many fights in the stands as on the ice, so it was no surprise that the Islanders faithful responded by jumping the Rangers fans, ripping off the offending jerseys, and pummeling the intruders to the ice. Security was on the scene, but calming the free-for-all wasn't as easy as more fans took advantage of the chaos by sliding across the ice. It took nearly 10 minutes to clear the fans from the ice, which almost forced officials to delay the start of the second period. The rivalry continues. The Islanders, who rallied in the third period for a 4-2 win, said after the game that they weren't even aware of the between-period melee. But more than a few were smiling after being debriefed. It's not surprising given the history of the rivalry between the Manhattan-based Rangers and their cousins from Long Island. Officially, the two teams play for the Pat LaFontaine Trophy, awarded to the winner of the season series. Unofficially, respect, dignity, and regional pride are at stake for the fans as well as the players. In addition to the frequent fisticuffs off the ice, there have even been reports of parking lots charging Ranger fans more at Islanders home games. Brawling Santas, however, may be hard to top, even in New York. And that is Uncle John's Bathroom Reader. Shoots and Scores from my partners at portablepress.com, guys. Just a fun little bit of hockey, bit of trivia, bit of holidays, little something nitty gritty, easy peasy. There we go. So also a little bit of info this holiday season, guys. I will be headlining. Sorry, I'm not headlining. I'm headlining, co-headlining on New Year's Eve in Kingston, and I'll be hosting at Kingston. So from December 26th to the 31st, my pretty face is going to be in Kingston, Ontario, telling the jokes with Ward Anderson and Nick Burden. So it's going to be a fun week. And I'm headlining, official announcement. You're hearing it here first. I will be headlining my home club, my home city of Ottawa, Ontario, February 19th to 24th, also at Absolute Comedy. So Absolute Comedy, Kingston, 26th to 31st. Absolute Comedy, Ottawa, February 19th to 24th. Check out absolutecomedy.ca for all other shows in all other cities. Absolute Comedy is the best live stand-up comedy from across North America, with locations in Kingston, Toronto, and Ottawa, Ontario. These comedians have been featured on Just for Laughs, Netflix, Comedy Central, CBC's The Debaters, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Conan, The Comedy Network, and much, much more. Go to absolutecomedy.ca to see this week's lineup. Planning a night out is easy with dinner and show packages available at all locations. Live comedy is a great choice if you're organizing a celebration, fundraiser, company outing, or corporate event. Want the show brought to you? They'll send comedians to your venue with performances tailored to your event, creating a night of laughs your guests will love and won't soon forget. So for showtimes, ticket prices, gift certificates, special shows, and more, head to absolutecomedy.ca. Again, that's absolutecomedy.ca for the best live stand-up comedy from across North America. And we're back. My other partners, Summersby, Cronenberg, Carlsberg. Guys, I've been in the freaking LCBOs watching these things fly off the shelf. Hopefully you've had a chance to check out the new flavors, right? The Cronenberg Blanc Fruit Rouge. Oh, very, very, very tasty stuff. In fact, I might pop a bottle open after the podcast here. Just an opportunity to wet the whistle with some nice stuff. You should also check out their semi-dry, all right? If you've been on the fence about Summersby because, it's a cider, it's sweet, get the half one. When I went to Chris's house the other night, I was leaving directly from that like LCBO gig, excuse me, and they had a cider that I saw there that was, I don't remember what it's called, and probably for the best because I don't want to shit on it, but it was garbage. It was a blueberry cider, and it's like, and sweetened with honey. I'm like, oh my God, cider, blueberry, honey, amazing. When I got to Chris, I was like, hey, you want to check this out? And he's like, yeah, let's try it together. We cracked it open. It smelled like hard-boiled egg farts. Do you know what I mean? Like there was this sort of rotten egg smell coming out of it. We're like, okay, honey and blueberries don't smell like that. We poured it in, like we half the can because I was just bringing a couple things over to taste. And we each, poured the can in each cup. I had one, smelled it stank, tasted it, and it tasted like it smelled. Chris drank it because he's a garbage child. No, I'm kidding. I don't think he liked it either. He was the first one to notice the smell, and then I went over and smelled it. It was bleh. I had one sip. I'm like, hey man, congratulations. You get a whole can. He's like, yeah, I'll drink it. So I really would like to know what you thought of that fucking cider, Chris, because that smelled gross. And I don't remember if you finished it or not, but I think you did. But having said that, all right, there's lots of ciders out there, guys. Lots of them. And you know what? That's what happens. That's what happens for me opening a cider that wasn't Summersby. All right. The gods of cider are watching. All right. And I wasn't trying to moonlight nothing, I wasn't trying to come home with lipstick on my collar, Summersby. I was just trying to, we was drinking, we was having a good time. We were dancing, we had, and I didn't check myself. I didn't check myself. I got a little out of order, you got a little out of order yourself, so yeah, don't drink anything but Summersby is the point I'm making. Cause that can happen to you. You can drink someone's sulfur butt mud out of a very nicely designed can. And it's not worth it. Not worth it at all. So who am I forgetting? Am I forgetting anybody? You fucking know I'm not. Goddamn well I'm not forgetting anybody. My partners at DK, Dorling Kindersley. And this week, the book that I'm reviewing, I have already talked about it a bit this podcast, is Good, Better, Best Wines. It's the second edition by author Carolyn Evans Hammond, a no-nonsense guide to popular wines, guys. I blew through this thing. It is the fastest I have read a book in I really, really cannot remember when. And booklets and pamphlets do not count, nor do magazines. This thing is fucking outstanding. So if you don't know anything about wine, here was the task that I was charged with last week, because I was doing an interview. And I was interviewing someone who is actually, an adult. I was just saying, like, I interview so many comics and silly people that, like, we're just like, whatever, we just roll with it. But I was interviewing a professional writer, author, and I had to come up with some questions just in advance to sort of say what we would be, some ideas of what we might be talking about, because of the fact that, they're real human beings, real professionals don't just wing everything, they have structure, they're organized. So one of the things I had to do last week was to come up with some of the questions that I might be asking just to give her an idea, right? Do a little prep, but I didn't know what to think of. So I just started asking questions about wine, things I want to know about wine. And I had my list of questions. I sent it to her. And then I got the book. And then I started reading the book. I was like, holy shit, most of my questions that I had to ask were already answered in this book. So how amazing is that? And this book is basically, it compares, oh, there's the door. Give me one sec. All right, I'm back. The magic of the pause button. That's what Burr always says on his. I'm so glad I found that code, because it used to be like I would hit like stop or end the recording and then like start a new one, splice them together, or just run real quick. Excuse me. And I'll explain that burp in a second. But, like run. And then at the end of the episode, I have to like, oh, now I got to, remember where it was so that I can delete it out later and edit everything together so there's no gap. Now I can just hit pause, right? It wasn't anything for me. Just another one of Jay's insane buying shit on Amazon purchases finally coming to the door. But one of the things that's cool about that is I went downstairs, put the box in the kitchen. I'm like, I can go for a little snack. Got a bowl of Crispix, come back up, hit play. Never even know, huh? All the time. How long was it? Did I just neglect you guys for like 2.5 hours? That's not what happened. But again, the magic of the pause button. This book, as I was saying before, is it's the first book to compare U.S. wines that are like $15 and under in that price point. So lots of books will compare all sorts of different wines from all over the world. This one's great because for all my North American listeners, and of course, all the wines in this book, 80% of which are available in Canada. So lots and lots of stuff on, in this book is available to all of my North American listeners, where of course my biggest listenership base is. Super, super wicked book. I plowed through it. So the idea of this book is that it helps you select wine. So if my experience being in the liquor stores here in Ontario is a lot of people are shopping for people and they don't quite know what to get, or they're trying to come to a dinner, or, they're not quite sure what someone's tastes are. And this book really breaks them down. So, for example, the main thing that the book does is it will suggest a good, better, or best wine. And of course, they've got all the different wine categories here. I say all, but I should say all of the main ones. So Chardonnays, Pinot Grigios, Sauvignon Blancs, and other whites, Rieslings and such, Moscatos. Those are all in the white sections. Then you have your Cab Sauves, your Merlots, your Pinot Noirs, red blends, other great reds, things like that. Are all here. So of course, on each of the different pages, we'll make a suggestion of a good, better, and best wine. And again, for the price point. So again, when you're looking at this book, Good, Better, Best Wines, she's not making suggestions for, $50, $60, $70 vintages. She's making suggestions for wines that are all at the American price point under $15, somewhere around 20 Canadian. Okay. So she makes a good, better, best that'll all basically reflect the price point. So depending on what you're looking to spend, it will give you description as to the wine. In fact, there's all sorts of really little fun things that they have in the side. For example, I do mention this in the interview, but there's like a recipe for like red wine brownies. So what you can do with like some leftover wine is, to make some red wine brownies with them. It's a great book. It's really good. It goes through all the different description things of like how to store wine, how to keep it, how to reseal it after it's been opened. Different sort of like, maybe misconceptions about wine, some trade secrets, things like that. Even like what to drink wine out of. There's actually a suggestion in here for a particularly interesting wine glass. And it says in the book, I'm not going to tell you guys because I want you to get the book and take a look, but there's a glass called the, almost even saying its name would be too much. But the glass is basically hand blown. And it doesn't matter what kind of wine you're drinking out of it. It's basically works for just about everything. And it is in fact the glassware that Carolyn uses. So the author of the book. Good, better, best wines, guys. There's even sections in here. Some of my questions were like, hey, what's a great way to figure out someone's taste profile, right? Like if you don't know what kind of wine someone likes, how would you find out? But if you don't know what kind of wine you like, that's all addressed in the book, is sort of how to find your wine. It's not so much like, hey, this one kind of wine is a good starter wine or anything. It's that, the wines have a certain taste that matches sort of fruit and earthy kind of thing. So it's like if you like, lime citrus, then you would probably lean toward a Riesling. If you like black currants, then a Cab Sauv. All sorts of things like that in the book. And what I found particularly interesting is that she talks about food pairings. So a good rule of thumb in order to get if you're trying to think of what wine to bring for food. But this thing has everything. It also has the bubblies. It has the dessert wines. It even has boxed wines. So as the boxed wine category continues to increase, right? It's not just like the kind of the joke wines. And I don't mean jokes, but I mean like the wines that are basically scoffed at, peasant wine. In the box, there's actually some really good brands that now that there's bigger and bigger companies can actually put them in the boxes properly and make them used properly. So it's cool getting to learn all this stuff. And of course, one of the questions I had too was like, well, what kind of wines do you bring to party if you don't know anybody? And again, this book has a section on that too. So just after receiving the book and going through it, so many of my questions were like, I don't even need to answer them. They're already answered in the book. So the difference, like guys, there's what kind of wines are bubbly to bring to like wedding receptions, like wedding receptions, dinner parties, backyard barbecues, cocktail parties. What's another one here? Beach, pool, or cottage. And of course it has the whites and the reds and listed good, better, best. Like it is such a good resource. If you don't know much about wine, you'd like to learn more, get this book, Good, Better, Best Wines by Carolyn Evans Hammond. I'm going to take this opportunity, guys, to let you hear the interview that I did with her. I had a great time. I was a little nervous too, because again, like I said, it's a sophisticated subject. She's an incredibly accomplished author. She is a syndicated writer. Writer, yes, but syndicated wine columnist for the Toronto Star. She's appeared on many, many different television outlets, including CNN, Canada AM, and City TV. She's written for Decanter, Wine Spectator, The Times in London, Maclean's, Wine and Spirit International, several other publications as well. She's insanely accomplished, and I was very, very grateful to have the opportunity to chat with her about her book, and of course ask some questions that were maybe not in the book, and just let you guys get a little bit closer and know a little bit more about her and her work, because I definitely think if you enjoy wines, if anything is not in the book, she's great to follow it on the social media. She's always got suggestions. Guys, I really hope you enjoy my interview with author of Good, Better, Best Wines, Carolyn Evans Hammond. Enjoy.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I just read your book, Good, Better, Best Wines. I absolutely loved it. As I said to you a couple of minutes ago when we first started chatting, it's the first time I have read so much in one sitting, and my hamster did not fall off the wheel of my mind in terms of attention. I was really, really stuck to the pages in terms of just learning a lot about wines. I think it's probably the most interesting thing I've ever read on wines. So thank you for giving that to us.
I'm glad to have entertained you.
Perfect. Can I tell you this? When I was reading the first little bit, because I guess this is, I don't want to say the most formal interview I've ever done, but I was just, wine is certainly considered a more, refined sort of thing. It's certainly, I don't want to say luxury, but it's certainly more sophisticated. Is that fair?
Fair enough. I think it's becoming more democratized.
100%. So I was worried I would bring too much of my comedic immaturity to this interview. So when reading the book, there was a portion where you were describing, what you're bringing wines to, whatever. And you would mention, like bringing wine to your next strip poker game. I'm like, okay, this is going to go much better than I thought. So there's a certain level of humor. I enjoyed the humor. I enjoyed your descriptions of blends being either, I believe it was Ryan Gosling, Channing Tatum, and Justin Timberlake. I think it was. You're like, they're great on their own, but they're even better all together. So it certainly took the edge off of reading something that might give you the idea that it's kind of like I said, highbrow, sophisticated. And not to say that it isn't, but you know what I'm saying, right? Is sometimes reading about something that might seem overwhelming. I really liked how you kept it engaging. Like, so you're educating and it's engaging and it's a ton of good fun. I really appreciated that. It made it less intimidating to keep reading, if that makes any sense.
I'm glad. I'm glad because I think at the end of the day, wine is a drink. And you don't need to get wrapped up in all of the things that so many people get wrapped up in, the terroir of it, all of that. At the end of the day, especially at the price levels we're talking about in that book, these are drinks. Do you like them? Do you not?
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah, and you made some really cool points. I also got your press release here. I have to say I love your picture. You look like the Born Identity of wine drinkers. You got the bag slumped over your shoulder on a Vespa. It's looks like the Italian Job. Like you're a secret agent of wine. You've got the wine bottle stuck out like a sniper rifle. I was just like, that is such a cool picture. You're like the world hitman of wine. I loved it. So I wanted to ask, of course, after seeing all that, reading your book, what sparked your passion for wine?
I think it was many moons ago. I was in the south of France, my first time in the south of France, and I was at visiting some wineries in the Rhone. And they gave me a bottle to take for my lunch, and I had bought an onion tart at the little bakery, and I sat there with this bottle of unpretentious wine that they just kind of put in a jug and said I could go off with, and I poured it into my, I'm sure, plastic cup, drank it, and was completely blown away. Before then, I'd been making my own wine at one of those make your own shops, thinking it was the bee's knees, giving it to everybody I know with such pride and thinking I was so sophisticated doing so. Well, that one sip of that wine, it just changed my world. I realized I had so much to learn, and I was smitten. And from that point on, I just focused my aspirations on learning about wine and then writing about wine because I'm a journalist by trade and by education.
That's very cool. And did it take long to sort of go from novice to expert?
Well, what happened was that was in the south of France. I was living in Toronto at the time. I decided to move to Europe. I went to Paris first for 6 months, studied at Cordon Bleu, learned some French, went to London, and became a wine PR. Okay. So from there, I quickly learned, because I didn't have the wine knowledge, but I had some corporate communication skills under my belt, that I was counseling these clients without wine knowledge, and I was looking like a fool. So at night, by day I would talk to journalists, wine writers, and then by night I would take my wine education courses, and I ended up quite quickly earning my street cred that way.
Nice.
Learning so I got my intermediate, advanced, and then diploma level wine and spirit education trust from London, England, quite quickly, and that's how I. And then moved back into the world of writing and have never looked back. So this is my third book.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very, very cool. It's always fascinating to me how people get into it, because I surprisingly run into a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm a sommelier. Is that how you pronounce that, by the way? Is it sommelier? Sommelier? Sommelier. Yeah. Okay, perfect. With wines, that is one of the things that I feel like there's so many different arguments on pronunciation. I still don't know if I'm saying Riesling right or Riesling. I think it's Riesling, right?
It's Riesling. Reese. Riesling.
Riesling. Okay, like peanut butter cups. All right, now you're talking my language. I can, as long as you put it in terms of food, I can figure it out. But I find one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because I talk to people all the time, and I've been lucky enough to try different wines, but I know for a very, very long time, like I steered clear of reds because I think I had a few bad, what I would understand now to be like table reds, and I just really didn't like them. And now I whites for years, and now I find myself really leaning towards the reds. Like, the more you play around and whatnot, you start to find things that are more to your taste, or at least things that are of higher quality. So I wanted to ask, this is just sort of a silly question, but sometimes people are kind of interested in wine and they don't know where to start. So I was going to say, do you have, in terms of people kind of going, well, I'd like to get something, but I'm not sure. Do you suggest a particular type of wine as like a starter white or a starter red?
No, what I start with is what people naturally like in terms of flavor profiles.
Okay.
Because about 80% of a wine's flavor comes from the grape variety from which it's made. So Riesling will always taste like lime.
Okay.
Chardonnay will always taste like, green apple or citrus, mixed citrus.
Okay.
If it's wooded, it'll have an overlay of some either vanilla or creamy character, maybe some nuts. If you like cherries, Merlot is perfect. If you like raspberries, it's Pinot Noir, and so forth. Cabernet is blackcurrant and cassis. These are the flavors of those wines. In my book, in the first page of each chapter, because there's a chapter devoted to each major grape variety, it's a one-pager that just outlines what that grape variety tastes like, what those wines taste like in layman's terms. Once you know what they taste like, and the texture is usually in there too, you'll be able to know whether you're going to like those wines. Then if you go flip through, find an intriguing tasting note, go taste that wine. It's not going to set you back too far.
Okay. No, that makes sense too, because you're right. If it does have its sort of a tasting profile, then you can sort of play with that in that regard. So I guess one of the questions I had a little bit further down, but maybe it goes with that. If you don't know, if you're shopping for someone, but you don't know what they like, is there any way to, any kind of educated guesses that you can make? Maybe, is there like a cheat sheet for personality types or something like that? Do you have any tricks or anything like that?
It's difficult because as you said, you don't like red wine. If I don't know what you like, I would never buy you a bottle.
Right.
A complete stranger, I would never buy a bottle for.
Okay.
The only safe bet, I think, buying wine for complete strangers, such as a hostess gift, is a half bottle of Bonafide champagne.
Okay.
Because Bonafide champagne is lovely, and it's always a celebratory tipple. It's blue chip. Because it's a half bottle, it's not going to be a fortune. And having that in the door of your fridge is always a good thing.
Okay. I like that. I appreciate that. It gives us something to work off. Like I said, I spend a reasonable amount of time in LCBOs, and people just say, I'm looking for something. They'll ask for help and they say, I'm looking for something, but I don't know anything about the person. I'm like, oh, well, that's, I don't know. I usually ask them then what led them to choose buying them wine. Do you know what I mean?
Buy my book. Don't buy them
right?
wine.
That's what I said. I said, I'm going to start. And can I just say that I love its size? I love its size because you can put it in a bag. You can bring it with you. It's perfect. I really do believe that this should be something that's sold in the LCBOs, though I know that because there's brand specific suggestions, there's maybe a little bit of a conflict of interest with that. But I really don't think anyone who's interested in wine shouldn't have this book.
Thank you.
It's outstanding. It's great. I love the size of it. And I think my ADD hamster fell off because I had a point before that and I've totally lost it. Oh, I was going to say, it's like guys trying to buy lingerie. We don't belong, and we get funny looks when we go in that store if we have no idea what it is we're trying to buy. So it's kind of like buying wine for someone you don't know.
Sort of.
So what else have I got here? Like I said, I've got a bunch of questions. I just don't want to, I've put little marks next to some, because some of them I wrote before finishing the book. And then, like I said, you've answered in the book. So I guess my other question, one of them too, I was going to say is, is there a good first date wine? Like if you're looking to impress someone, but I guess it falls back, if you don't really know what that person's profile is, it's kind of difficult to pick something, there's nothing out there with like a wow factor or something along that line that might help, right?
Well, there's lots of wow factor wines, but I think a good gauge is knowing how long they've been drinking wine. And the reason is we all sort of run the same continuum when it comes to wine, because we all start sweet. We all like sweet because we come out of our mother's bodies drinking sweet milk. Sweet breast milk. We have a natural inclination to enjoy sweet things. There is a huge stigma against sweet wine, but if you think of Chateau Yquem, one of the most expensive wines in the world, dessert wine, it goes for thousands of dollars a bottle. So there's no shame in sweet. We all start sweet, often sweet pink, Marius Rosé, anyone? White Zinfandel, anyone? We start there sort of when we're 19, and then we go to white, and we start with creamier whites and higher alcohol whites. It might because that often gives a perception of sweetness, and that anyway. From there, we'll go to drier whites, crisp Pinot Grigios and so forth. And then we go red. We'll tend to big reds that are sweet-centered. So things like, well, we wouldn't start with cake red, but we'd start with things like Apothic. Apothic has, you know, quite a bit of residual sugar, but it's well-balanced, so it doesn't taste sweet. It's got complexity, so we feel like we're, you know, so it hides the bitterness, because sweetness hides the bitterness of tannin, but it's also complex and full-fruited. From there, we go lighter and lighter and lighter until we end up at Pinot Noir, like light-bodied Pinot Noir from Burgundy, cool climate Pinot Noir. From there, we go dry, austere white. So champagnes and grower champagnes without residual sugar, like Brut Natures and things like that. So that's basically the continuum we all follow because it's natural. So going back to your question, so that was a very long.
No, I'm.
How would you impress your date? How would you impress me? Well, but given I've been drinking a long time, if someone took me on a date and they said, you know, they secretly brought out a Brut Nature champagne, which is sort of what you drink when you've been drinking a long time, that would impress me.
Okay, I like that. And I thought of this earlier when I was reading it. I just finished the book this morning, which is probably a new record for me. I think a book in less than 24 hours. Oh my God, I'm buying myself a pizza, which is a weird celebration meal, but no. But I do have actually a question related to it. I noticed in the book earlier today in the bubbly section that there's a barefoot champagne. At least it's listed on their bottle that it's champagne, and I wanted to ask about that. My understanding was that the rule is if it's there's only champagne comes from Champagne, France.
That's a great question. Yes, that is absolutely true. The only champagne comes from Champagne, and it was a thorn in the side of the Champenois for many years. They had an argument with the U.S. and said, you have to stop this, you have to. But what happened was there were some brands that had champagne on the label that were godfathered in and are therefore allowed to continue using the word champagne on the label. But there's very few of them.
Really? So they still, even though it's,
I think it's in the sidebar in one of my books, one of the sidebars in the book.
Oh, okay. Okay. I also saw that you have a recipe for Merlot brownies in one of the sidebars there, which I think is absolutely outstanding. Not that they're brownies, just I love that you add so much extra stuff to it. So it's not just, it's a fun read because you keep adding new fun things to it. There was also glassware, by the way, thanks for costing me $80 for a Christmas gift. There was your recommendation. I don't want to say the brand name because I want people to want this glass, but I want them to get your book in order to get the answer to this question.
Have you tasted out of that glass?
No, I haven't got it yet, but I made the call. Listen, I got this book yesterday. Okay, I had to finish. They didn't have time to go buying glasses. I had to finish it, but I did. The second I read the name, I jumped on Google. I went to their website. I found a store locally. I called them. I had one put aside. So I don't think I'm buying it for myself. Like, it's certainly not for me. Not yet. I'm not there. Well, I still have $10 bottles on my shelf. I'm not. They're still tasting the same, I think, no matter what I'm drinking about it. But I was really impressed to read about it, and I thought that was really cool that you have like the glassware section in the book as well. So it was fascinating to me that depending on what you're drinking out of it, it makes a difference. I will also say that the intro to the Merlot section I found particularly outstanding because you'd referenced the movie Sideways, which I watched when it first came out in 2004. And I didn't know anything about wine. So I found that movie to be particularly interesting. So last night, I happened to be chatting with my roommate that I read the thing about Sideways, asked him if he had it. He's got a big movie collection. And we watched it. I watched it while drinking a bottle of Merlot as sort of just just a little tease to that. I have one bottle in my collection. It's the Santa Carolina, I believe it's called. Yeah, the Santa Carolina, the Chilean Merlot. And a friend of mine actually bought this when she came over to co-host the podcast with me. So I drank that last night whilst watching Sideways. And I found it particularly interesting. But I loved reading. One of the things I loved about the book is just, like I said, there's so many different little, like I said, recipes, little suggestions, little pieces of trivia. And that basically, my entire evening last night was based on just one of your intros to one of your chapters. So I found that. Yeah, I found it was fun. It basically made reading about the wine fund. So, just one of my favorite things about it. I think, and I too can ramble on. By the way, I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
No, I learned something too from writing that book. I wrote it the first time and I learned it, and it was I learned it again in a different way this time writing it. For the book, I had to taste about 500 of the best-selling wines.
What a horrible thing to have to do.
Well, it can be.
Just kidding.
I
can imagine,
because these are not expensive wines, but they've been curated because the market has curated them. These are repeat purchases. These are the wines that people like because they are the best sellers. They sell huge volumes. So they actually all are relatively balanced and relatively decent value for money. And I think that's what I learned is that at those price points, it is absolutely possible to find a good value bottle of wine. No, they're not all great value, but there are some seriously good value bottles of wine that can sell for twice the price.
Oh, 100%. I've tried some. I remember there's only one time in my entire life where I've done a wine tasting. It's actually, they were doing a tasting at the place. I happened to be doing a different event, but when it was over, they asked me if I wanted to try some stuff, and they were doing Cab Sauves, and I tried a $50 bottle, a $60 bottle, and we were just conversing, myself and the gentleman running it. And then I had tried a $25 bottle, and after I took a sip, mid-sentence, I had to stop and go, wow, what was that? And that was a $25 bottle. I'll name that one. That was the Hess Select from California, the Cab Sauv. I believe it was the 2000. Yeah, I think it was the 2016 or 2015. But it was absolutely outstanding. Of course, I was not as versed in wines then as I am now. It was a vintage, and I didn't realize that, you buy it while it's there or it's not going to be there later. So I missed the boat on that. But
right.
But like you said, the price doesn't always dictate necessarily how much you're going to enjoy it. There are great wines out there at very reasonable price points.
Yes, and that there's that stigma around larger producers, the idea that they're too commercial to do to make good wine. But the truth of the matter is that they can use economies of scale to buy in grapes and blend to a signature taste profile that's been well market researched. So they can actually often do very good jobs, and sometimes better than smaller producers who are working on tight budgets and have to use every grape they grow, or they don't make ends meet.
Right. It's interesting to look at. There's a lot of things in the book that make a lot of sense when you just stop and think about them. The biggest one that got me was in the book you described building upwards in your wine over the course of an evening. So starting with the sort of the lower ones and moving your way up to the things with more profile, which I kind of always thought in reverse. Now, I always thought, start with the stuff that tastes the best, maybe the more expensive bottles. But my logic was because as people start to, let's say, get inebriated, they're tasting less. And so you're moving away from the expensive stuff because now they're not even tasting it. Unless, does that make, I don't know if I made sense with that.
You totally did. But I think I think you have to, both angles are correct. I think it depends on what the crowd is, who you're serving, because if they're big drinkers, you are 100% right.
Okay.
Serve them the good stuff first because they won't notice what they're drinking later.
Fair enough. So you're talking about societal people, and I'm with animals, basically.
No, we all have animals in our life.
Okay, so if people are acting, like I said, if it's a sort of a, with dinner and then you're moving on throughout the evening at a reasonable pace, then by all means work upwards.
Yes, exactly. And especially if it's, for instance, a wedding.
Okay.
Or not a wedding. A wedding's a bad example because you're watering a crowd. But if it's a fancy dinner party for four.
Okay.
You're meeting the future spouse's parents for the first time, then don't bring out the $200 cab with the first course. Lead into that.
Lean into it. Okay. So just
$25 Chardonnay with first course. Second course is the cab.
I
third
think
course. Disgusting.
it'd be great to have a breathalyzer, by the way. And it's basically just got an arrow. They blow into it and the arrow just goes up or down, and that's your price point. They blow into it, you're like, all right, go ahead. They're ready for the next best thing. And then if otherwise just goes down.
Brilliant idea.
Yeah, maybe that'll be my Dragon's Den appearance. I'll show up with that.
There is one. You know, when I was doing my gift guide for the Toronto Star, which was out last weekend, one of the things I was considering is there is a gift that you can buy. It's a keychain breathalyzer.
Yes, believe it or not, my roommates have those.
Really?
Yeah,
Do they work?
They work. Oh, we're like, again, comedians, right? We have nothing to do after a show but sit around, talk, and drink. And I wish I was joking. My good friend, the owner of Absolute Comedy, had one installed at the club because he thought it would be fun to have that on the wall, put $1 in it, and people can give themselves breathalyzers. And then he went around and bought a bunch. Like he must have given us all a keychain breathalyzer that year for Christmas. So again, animals. But I have seen those. I can, it'll give me a number, but I wouldn't know. I'm like, okay, so does that mean we're going with Wolf Blast, or am I, looking for a barefoot bottle to open at this point?
Exactly.
But that's great. I don't want to take up too much. I do have a couple questions left. Do you have time? I know we've hit the 2:30 mark. That's when we were scheduled for.
Okay. No, feel free to move on.
Okay, perfect. So that was the biggest question I wanted to know. I'm like, should I be moving upwards? Because so I like that. So it's a good description.
So you have to read your crowd. Now we've just made it more complicated for you.
No. I think I get it. So we're good. If we are, it's not like, you have a glass or two and now your taste buds are toast. But if the people are, struggling to keep their eyes open, maybe it's not the good stuff we bust out.
Actually, it's this toast, that alcohol thing, that's an interesting point. Something I learned when I was living in, I think it was when I was living in London, and traveling to France a lot, is that especially the French, but Europeans in general, do not think it's proper or appropriate to serve hard liquor before a meal because it kills your taste buds.
Right.
Good to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
No gin and tonics before you're serving. Start with something light and white, hence bubbly.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I wanted to ask something about tasting notes, because I was reading some in your book yesterday, and I found all of them good. Like it's kind of nice to do a tasting. There's sometimes where before you're served a glass, people will sort of give you an idea of what you should be tasting, and it's kind of interesting to look for it. I've heard that there's some interesting / odd, gross tasting notes listed on some bottles, and I thought this is just one that someone told me a long time ago, and no one in the store seemed to know it. I thought maybe I'd take a chance and ask you. I've heard that there's odd tasting notes, and one of them that has been listed, I don't know if someone was having a time with me, but cat piss was apparently listed on one bottle. Does that sound completely ridiculous, or are there weird things?
Cat pee, but I think we know the same thing. That's a classic scent in Sauvignon Blanc.
Really?
Yeah, there's Hallmark flavors and aromas, and cat pee is Sauvignon Blanc. So cat pee on a gooseberry bush was a wine. I don't know whether it's ever been available here, but I know it's a global brand, and it's New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, because that's what those are classic flavors in Sauvignon Blanc. Gooseberries, New Zealand.
I can't imagine what childhood someone had when they're like, you know what, if it tastes like that, that's what I deserve. I just can't imagine from a marketing perspective that they're like, well, hey, look, it tastes like that, and we're the ethical wine company. Put it on the bottle. We don't want it. Just have you heard? Are there any other really odd ones like that, or is that just sort of like that's the go-to one because that's kind of the?
There's Fat Bastard, which they do sell here in Ontario. There's Clean Slate, which refers to the slate, and there's Chocolate Box. There's a lot of different ones, but and they're all just poking fun at the flavor profiles, but none of them are quite as crass as
right.
Cat Piano.
And that's the name of the wine, not the tasting notes of it.
No, it's the name of the wine.
Oh, well, that's way different. Someone had told me that's the actual tasting note, like, oh, blackberry and cat piss. I'm like, that doesn't sound like something I'd want to taste.
No,
then.
that's awful. No.
That's what I understood. So there you go. That's what was clanking around in my brain since I heard it, was that would actually be a tasting note on a bottle. So they were probably, misinforming me, which happens to me. I'm naive. Speaking of the interesting tastes, though, I have seen some new sort of trends in wine with spirits for the last, at least a decade now. They're going crazy with spirits. They're trying all sorts of different interesting things. But I've noticed lately that they're aging wine in bourbon barrels. I even had the opportunity to try a few of them, and they were particularly good. I've also got a bottle of wine here called The Grinder, which someone had told me when I bought it that they're playing around with coffee with the wine as well. So I just wanted to ask, have you had a chance to try any of these new things, or are there any new sort of wine trends that are exciting at an early stage?
Well, I think The Grinder, if I remember correctly, that's a Pinotage from South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Pinotage is their flagship grape variety, and different clones and Pinotage can taste a lot like coffee.
I see.
So as I understand it, they've used a specific clone that brings out that coffee character, and so you get it on the nose and palate of The Grinder. And The Grinder is actually an amazing wine for the money. I think it's very good value. There's a Grinder. The bourbon aged wines are coming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know any other ones that are actually infused with flavors.
Mm-hmm.
I think I heard about a cannabis vodka, but I declined a sample because I don't do.
Yeah.
Flavors, so.
Yeah. No, I would have as well. Do you have any thoughts on the bourbon barrel stuff? Have you had a chance to try it? What are your feelings?
I have tasted it,
mm-hmm.
And to me, the bourbon lacing, the lacings of bourbon in the barrel doesn't really come through. It's no different to me than a toasted barrel.
Okay.
The toasted barrel is still going to bring out those caramelized notes, so it's fine. I wouldn't gravitate to it.
Okay.
Myself.
Does it feel, and again, like, just out of curiosity, does it feel gimmicky? Is there like wine gimmicks? Because I had another question here about, like, are there any wines that you would say steer clear of that kind of lure you in with a fancy bottle? So maybe I'll just wrap that into one question. Is that sort of thing like the bourbon barrel or fancy bottles? Like, are there wine gimmicks to maybe steer clear of?
It's funny you should ask that, because I actually did a column recently specifically on gimmicky wines.
Okay.
What ones are worth the cringe factor, and which ones you really should avoid. So that was when, do you remember The Bachelor came out?
Yes. I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. So The Bachelor Red, it's a Cabernet Sauvignon. It's from Ontario. It's only $15, and I actually thought that was not bad. It was not bad. It's drinkable. It's balanced. It's clean. I was surprised. Fine. Worth the cringe factor? Yes. And I gave it like 88 points. Ones that aren't were the white.
Okay.
Those are like the white. There's one called Naked Grape.
Yes, I'm familiar with that brand. Yeah.
And they have something called Unoaked Blue. And it's totally Instagrammable. It's indigo blue color. It's really bright. It's actually a flavored wine beverage. So it's it's colored and it's got different things in it, but it's not worth the cringe factor. It's not worth. You don't want to be seen drinking that.
Okay.
Especially on social media. So yeah, but the one-on-one Pinot Grigio Bachelorette was a no. Let me see. There's one called Big Bill Ridiculously Big Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
They also have a ridiculously big Cabernet Sauvignon. So that's sort of gimmicky, especially the label, the way it's... And so let me see. I thought that the Sauvignon Blanc was a complete fail.
Okay.
Not worth money. The Cabernet Sauvignon, not bad. There you go. So there's some.
Yeah, I saw one recently. I'm not sure if have you heard of this Living Labels app that they have on phones now?
No.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, you're welcome. I've got one thing I can contribute to you. There's an app called Living Labels, and I noticed the reason it came up is I was in a store and I recently saw that there's a Walking Dead Cab Sauv, and I had a chance to try it. I wasn't bad. It certainly I didn't feel was worth its price point. But I was talking to someone about it, and they had said, "Oh, do you have the Living Labels app for it?" So there's actually the app you can download, and there's quite a few wineries now that are using this app. And what you do is you hold your phone up in front of the label, and the label comes to life on your phone using augmented reality. So,
oh, I heard of that. Doesn't because 19 Crimes.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
Also,
yeah,
yes.
the character on the bottle comes to life and will describe to you his story, who he was, what crime he had committed, and it's like the head is talking, moving around, talking. It's absolutely outstanding. But the Walking Dead bottle is one of the ones. So speaking of gimmicks, like that living label thing is actually kind of interesting. And I got to say, it's pretty cool because it definitely makes you want to buy the bottle, bring it home, and show everybody what it does. On the Walking Dead bottle, a zombie smashes through the bottle and is trying to get out of the bottle. And if you bring your phone close enough to him, he'll swipe at the screen. And if he hits it, your screen cracks. So yeah, progressively more
creepy.
so. Yeah, but like that's like I got to tell you, I almost bought. I even tried the Walking Dead wine, gave it a thumbs down, and I was still going to buy it because my mom is a huge Walking Dead fan, and I thought she would enjoy that. So just to see.
QR code?
What's that?
QR code. Do you scan a QR code on it to make it happen?
No, it's like it uses augmented reality, so it actually recognizes the picture, and then what it does is it sort of does like an overlay over top of it, so it doesn't look like it looks like the bottle itself through the picture on your phone is actually coming to life and speaking.
Yeah, I totally have to get that app.
Yeah, try. Yeah, it's just called Living Labels. If you want, I can send you a message or an email later with the. Yeah. So that's a good one. So I know currently Wolf Blast, The Walking Dead from California, and 19 Crimes are ones that do it. I would say try the, some of them are just kind of like, you scan the front of the bottle and a little, eagle will fly by the front and it just starts telling you a story through the phone. So it's not really, and it's like a filter, but the 19 Crimes, The Walking Dead, that bottle comes to life and you can move your phone around it and it keeps the bottle in the space. So it really looks like that's coming out of the bottle and happening to the bottle itself, as opposed to just a filter. It's very cool. But yeah, speaking of gimmicks, that was one recent. Like I said, it even made me want to buy a bottle that I had previously not enjoyed just for that gimmick aspect. I have 2 more questions left. And is that still cool? Awesome. Thank you so much. One of them is just a quick one. I wanted to ask, this evening I was planning on buying a bottle of that Vanguard Pinot Grigio because of its, pretty frosted blue bottle. Any yay or nay on that?
I wish I knew it. I wish I could provide counsel, but I can't because I have not tasted that wine. Fair
enough. Well, then I go into it happily anticipating its experience. It got me with a frosted bottle. I'm like $18, but I'm like, it's so pretty. It doesn't fit in my wine rack, so I got to buy it and consume it at the same time just because of how big the base is. And my last question for you, and again, I have to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your book. I can't wait to start playing with it. I loved because again, some of my questions here, what are some of the best box wines? What's the best way to store your wine if you don't have a wine cellar? I heard UV light, I heard what light damages wines. All these things are answered in the book. What's the best way to care for and preserve an opened wine? All of that's in the book. So real questions that other people have. Guys, it's not just how to select the wine in the store. It's lots of great information. So
actually on that note, the last edition had 8 pages of wines under $5. So those are the big format wines, the Carlo Rossi's of the world. So only 8 pages. This edition has 44 pages. So there's a lot of inexpensive, great value wines out there that are completely fine to drink. So I think that's one of the important points of this book, the real values I've managed to add in this book, other than the fact also that everything's color and glossy this edition. The last edition wasn't color.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. Even one of the bigger questions I had was, if you're going to a party or something, what are some safe bets to bring or some crowd pleasers? And again, you have a whole section on that. And you've not just said, oh, well, here's some whites you can bring or here's some reds, is that you've actually got it specific to the type of event, barbecues, weddings, dinner parties, garden parties. Like that's incredible to be able to make it easy. What's that?
Because everyone has garden parties.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to wear hats and pretend they're British.
But it's still, but you know what? If somebody needs to know, it's there. And we are talking about wine. Like I said, the perception is that it's a very sophisticated thing. So sophisticated thing, people have garden parties. You know, we have laying in the bushes parties at my house. I'm joking. So, but I found that to be, like I said, I had a big list of questions. And as I got through the book, I was just putting X's next to them here because they're in the book. I don't need to bother with them. But the last question, and I know to an extent it is answered here, but this was a listener question. So I'd like to ask on their behalf. They wanted to know, because most of us are peasants that listen to my podcast.
You're such a snob.
What's that?
You're such a snob.
Am I?
Well, no, but you're if you're calling yourself a peasant, it's like you're a reverse snob.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's, yeah. I think a reverse snob is a peasant. I could be wrong. But I just mean, I know that a lot of times I like to enjoy my wine, but I'm not making steaks and everything in the evenings. And this question actually comes from Chris. Chris was my lovely participant in that Facebook promo video I did for this interview. So Chris had 5 different sort of fast food, comfort food, easy at home, that he wanted to ask what would pair nicely with that. So the first one he has is just what would pair nicely with burger and fries.
It depends on your style, but I think Cabernet is always a good bet. And the reason is it's not too smooth. When you're eating a hamburger, you want something with a little bit of grip that holds the food in place so your palate is properly seasoned for that next bite of burger. You don't want to be all gone,
Okay.
you know, and that's what tannins do, especially when it's a nice velvety Cabernet, you know? So
Yeah.
I'd say go to Cabernet.
Okay. Fried chicken?
Oh, fried chicken. To me, fried chicken, because fried chicken is greasy, salty goodness, you need crisp acidity to, you know, scrape the palate clean afterward. And you want it dry. I want it to be dry. So to me, Pinot Grigio is fine. Great if you're, you know, if that's your style and you want just something quenching. The other cool thing is go high and low. So a very smart sparkling wine.
Okay.
If you can afford it, a bottle of Veuve Clicquot or something with a bucket of KFC, very stylish, because high and low is super stylish right now. It's like the new mass of wine.
Okay. Interesting. It's like I that would probably be the funniest visual for me. Someone eating a bucket of chicken while drinking champagne. I would just say they're having that would seem like a bipolar person, like in their wedding dress on the ledge.
And they go, it's so on point right now.
But
you have no idea.
Oh, well, I'm excited to try it. I've only got 2. I've got Mexican food. So
Mexican.
Yeah.
Okay, with Mexican, are we talking about like a burrito?
Yeah, well, I was thinking, I guess burrito, tacos, that sort of.
Tacos, okay, that kind of thing. Okay, so we're talking about stuff with some kind of tomato in there.
Okay.
As soon as you add tomato, just like pizza, you want something with enough acidity, but you also want something with enough flavor that's going to hold up. So it's you're matching the weight of the wine and the level of acidity with the food. To me, that speaks either Pinot Noir, such as Amirso Pinot Noir, which is a $13 Pinot Noir, beautiful, light-bodied, fruity but high acid, or something like Valpolicella, beautiful, again, light-bodied. Massey does a beautiful one. It's crisp. It's going to stand up to any acidity from tomatoes, but it's not going to be so powerful as to mask all the food flavors, because there's complexity there.
Okay. So that, I would assume that my next one was pizza, but since it said match with pizza because of the tomato. I remember
pizza Chianti. You got to go Chianti.
I was going to say, in your book, you said Chianti. I saw the Ruffino Chianti in there. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last one, in my city, we have deemed Ottawa the shawarma capital of the world. I know that there's a reasonable amount of them in Toronto, but I wanted to ask you, so for shawarma, what would be a great pair for shawarma?
Chicken shawarma, right?
Yeah, we could do chicken, or even if it helps, maybe Mediterranean food. So there's a lot of, salt, garlic.
See, to me, it depends. If it's a beef, like if it's a beef kebab kind of thing,
Okay.
I want Syrah or Shiraz. I just want that because it's smoky, black fruit, and that just has a magical marriage with grilled beef. It really just does. And the garlic, it just works beautifully. If it's something like shawarma where it's chicken or maybe white mystery meat, then go high acid,
Okay.
not wood. So an Albrino works beautifully. An unoaked Chardonnay works beautifully.
Okay.
A dry Riesling works magic. Like you get like a lime squirt in there. Or the other thing that works is a crisp Pinot Grigio, because all it's going to do is be a sheer wash of mouth-watering flavor, like vinosity, to clean the palate between bites. So I like that idea.
Awesome. Well, that's amazing. That's all the ones I've got here. My usual, it's almost like describing my week of meals. So I know what to drink with all of my dinner pairings.
Oh, it's a job.
Carolyn, I really appreciate your time today. This was a lot of fun, and sorry we went long, but this is great answers, great stuff. You've definitely given me more to think about, which is great. I'm going to have your book this whole entire holiday season. Like I said, I'm in LCBOs, so even though I'm sure they might not be able to carry it, I certainly can, and I can't wait to sort of pull it out and sort of use it. I'm going to be putting this in a lot of people's faces this holiday season and suggesting that they pick one up themselves. Where can people follow you or keep up to date with what you're doing? So listeners all over North America, I'm sure.
At the Wine Find is my Twitter handle. I'm on Instagram, Carolyn Evans Hammond, and or you can email me directly. My link is on my bio page at the Toronto Star.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to give you back your day. Really appreciate you spending time chatting with me today. And I can't wait to hear what people think of our little chat on episode 83 of the One Man Podcast.
Great. Thanks for the time, and thanks. I'm really glad you enjoyed the book.
Oh, I was super. I got to say, I was super excited when I saw it. I'm even more thrilled after having a chance to see it and look at myself. I know that I'll be giving this to a few people, a gift just for myself this holiday season. So, super excited, and it's a good little resource.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, take care. Thank you so much. And we're back. What did you guys think of that? Did you enjoy the interview? That was fun, right? Nice little interview. Get to know a little bit more. Hopefully you're now interested in the book as much as I am. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Can't recommend it enough. So thank you to all my partners, DK Books, Summersby, Absolute Comedy, and PortablePress.com, Uncle John's Bathroom Readers. This week, guys, I'm going to be doing a touch and go. I wanted to talk to my friend who I haven't seen or been able to, haven't chatted with in a little while, haven't gotten any emails or anything like that. So I hope she's still doing good, but I'm going to ambush my friend Vanessa, see how she's doing right now. Let's see if we can get her on the line there. How do I spell her? I don't remember if I put her married last name, which I can't spell, or if I still have her in as the one that I know. Let's find out. Where the frick or frack is she? Oh my God. Oh God, come on. I'm really making you guys listen to, because I put her in as red. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. How you doing, Red? Boobity squeep. I might get to a point where people just completely outright ignore my phone calls because they know what it's going to be. Or they're going to start answering excited all the time, and I'm just going to be constantly letting them down.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too shabby. Vanessa, you are on the One Man Podcast right now. We're just doing a little touch and go segment. I thought I'd call and see how you're doing.
Oh my God, I feel so privileged.
Well, you've actually helped co-host the podcast with me before.
I know.
How are things?
Once. Oh, just hanging out at work, living the dream.
Yeah? What are you doing for work again? You still working for that big company there? You can say that.
Yeah, well, big. I don't know, like somewhat medium-sized software company.
Is it? Yeah, but it's for the car company, right? Or am I?
Yeah, well, it's they do automotive data and software for obviously the automotive industry. So yeah,
That was thrilling. This little touch and go is off to a huge start. How's
Yeah,
your
no, so if you've ever like been on a website or
never,
like a car company's
never.
website to build and price a car or compare vehicles, one company's vehicle to other vehicles, we build all that and we facilitate all the data for it. And so that's like kind of the main stuff we do. And then we do a lot of other internal tools for dealerships and corporations and just sort of inventory and ordering.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
Fair. I know that's
So
your day.
a lot of stuff that people don't see. A lot of like the stuff is behind the scenes, but yeah, the stuff that you would see that we build
Right.
is like the build and price on most of the major car companies like GM, Ford, Chrysler. I can't remember.
Do you guys, you said comparing, like, do you actually have something where you can compare different companies' cars, or is it just internal like models versus each other?
Yeah, no. So if you go on most of the major car companies, there's a compare option. Like one of the links is like compare, and then it pulls up, you can select the vehicle from that car company. So let's say we're talking about like Ford, you're on the Ford website, you pull up their compare, and then you pick like a Ford Focus. And then they'll have like pre-selected 3 cars in that same category from different companies. Like a Nissan,
okay.
Toyota,
You're not actually like snagging the details from a competitor's site. It's more or less
but
like
what we do is we retrieve all that data, and we have that data here, and we have it organized so that you can compare. So Ford might call their, transmissions, like they may give it some weird fancy name or whatever. And so to compare apples to apples, we go and we say, okay, well, Nissan's version of that is X. And so that, and so we sell that data back to them so that they can compare
it makes sense.
themselves to other companies' cars.
So it is still getting that proper data. It's not like you hit compare and then you're getting a few feature comparisons that Ford's website has decided to showcase. Because then you would think that it's a little suspect. Like, of course, they're going to compare the shit that, they're winning on. But if it's legitimate information collected from a third party, then it's more reasonable.
Yeah, well, I mean, it still can be like skewed for their benefit, right?
Right.
So, but like the data we deliver them, it's just how they decide to present it.
Right. But it's still accurate. It's not like at first I thought it was a genuine comparison, like site to site to site. My first knee jerk reaction in sales is to like, well, I wouldn't want that if I was the shittiest option on that comparison chart. I'd be like, yeah, can you guys stop showing everybody that we're the worst? But then again, if it's like they're getting the info, and then secondly, I understood it was like, oh, it's just compare, and then they just talk about it, and then finally it's your guys' information. But like you said, they can still just choose what to showcase and what not to.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like fun. I want to talk about what's going on with you personally. All right. I saw some pictures on social media. You guys got some lovely family photos taken. How is the holiday season treating you?
Pretty good. Busy. We are finishing our basement, so that has been taking up all our time. And so we're doing that ourselves. And so, it's cheaper, but it takes more time.
Yeah, and doing renos in the wintertime is awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not been too bad. We're finishing up. We have the floors to put in this week, and then carpet. Well, part of the floors, and then carpet is being installed for us on Monday. So, and that'll pretty much be the end of it. So
while you're doing renos at home, you're doing numbers and data during the day. What are you doing to keep yourself entertained? Besides listening to the one-man podcast, of course.
So that can be entertaining.
Yeah, and he's getting big now, I noticed from the pictures there.
Yeah, he's tall. He's not as chunky as he used to be, but he's slimming out, I guess.
Is he? That's good, I think. Is that a good thing?
But yeah. Yeah, I know. We started the adventure of potty training a week ago, and that's been dramatic, to say the least.
Really?
Yeah, well then, just sort of, so he's at a home daycare, and he's the oldest one there.
Okay.
And so he's, we're teaching him this new skill, but he doesn't understand why he has to stop doing whatever he has to go to the bathroom, and nobody else does. And so he's really resisting and getting angry about it.
I see. That makes
So, I mean, you
sense.
can't blame him. Like, I'd be pretty pissed too if like everybody else got to keep playing and got to poop in their pants, and I had to go poop in a toilet.
I can't wait till I get old enough where I don't have to, you know, I don't have to go to a toilet. I can just poop my
Yeah,
pants and someone
stop
will come
playing
along.
video games.
Right? Yeah, you just stop what you're doing. Right? In this fucking house too, there's always somebody in the bathroom. So, you know,
How many bathrooms do you have for all of you?
one.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, so I have one bathroom. We have 4 people that live here, and then Jason's constantly bringing strays into the house. And by that, I just mean like extra comics. We're staying a day or two longer. We don't have room for them at the condo, so they stay here. And so we've got like just bodies in the house, and it's like all day. I wish like it's nice when Simon and Kamar go to work because then there's like, okay, now it's only 3 people fighting over the bathroom, and then of course Jason's girlfriend stays over too, and that's a woman in the bathroom. Good. Anyways, I wanted to say I cracked open your bottle the other night. It's earlier in this episode too, but I cracked open your bottle of Santa Carolina Merlot the other day, and I watched Sideways with it. Are you familiar with the movie?
What does that mean? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Is that code word for something?
No, have you not seen the movie Sideways?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. Is it an older movie?
Older, 2004. Paul Giamatti is the main character in it, and it's about like 2 guys in wine country.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Well, he hates Merlot in that movie. In fact, yeah, again, I talked about this earlier, but for context for you, it basically hurt the Merlot industry because this movie was so popular, and he basically made it like Merlot was like the worst wine. So they actually call it the Sideways effect. He was a fan of Pinot Noir in the movie, so Merlot sales went way down and Pinot Noir sales went way up as a result of that. But I figured since there was only 1 bottle of Merlot in my collection, and it was provided to me from you. In fact, you brought it when you co-hosted the show with me. So to give context of when I received it and when I drank it. And I wanted to say thank you for that. I appreciate that. That was very kind. And that's what made me think I should touch base with you and see how you're doing. Let you be the touch and go of the week there.
Oh, so did you like the wine?
It wasn't bad. I was saying that like I've had lots of reds that I just outright don't like. But I find as my palate's getting a little bit more sophisticated, I don't mind, I don't love the medium bodied to light bodied reds. And I find Merlot is like a medium bodied. Like I like them when there's, you know, a lot sort of more going on, more tannins and whatnot. So I didn't dislike it, you know, as far as
I brought you more of a safe choice.
Right. And I was going to say, and Merlot is a very safe just wine in general because it's more of, you know, like you're going to find a lot of table wines that are Merlots just because it's just like you said, it's a safer choice. So from the Merlots I've had, definitely like top 5. But
nice, that's good.
But yeah, but overall, I would probably not, if I needed a Merlot, that would be the one that I would go with. But I probably wouldn't seek it out as my evening's festivities.
Yeah, no, I enjoy a lot of the South American red wines.
Yeah, well, we should play around with some next time you're in town. Let's get a couple bottles and we'll just get white girl wasted. And
sounds good.
Any big plans for the holidays before I let you go?
No, not really. Just keep taking it easy. Trying to not be too busy. You know, the 2-year-old keeps it busy enough. So,
did you get?
By the way, I was meaning to send you an email this week.
So
maybe I'll just give you crap on air.
Yeah, do it. Give me shit. That's what I like.
So, like a long time. So you keep talking about your Fiji water, right? And then it was
keep
really
talking.
Funny. Yeah, you talked about it in multiple episodes.
Really? Okay.
So a while ago, though, when you first talked about buying this at Costco, it was really funny because in like pretty much a couple sentences of each other, you're talking about how much you love the Fiji water and blah, 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 and it's so good and it's so amazing. And then like 3 sentences later, you start talking about the big garbage pile in the middle of the ocean. And I'm just like, you know, that's kind of ironic because you're contributing to that directly.
Really? From buying the water from Fiji?
From buying the bottled water, any bottled water. It's such a ripoff. Tap water is just as good, if not better.
Oh, Jesus. Are we going to get into the essential oils again, too?
No, but I'm saying, like, as far as, like, chemicals or whatever bad stuff you think is in your water, your tap water is actually better for you.
Yeah. I mean, without getting too into it, I know that there's no fluoride and there's no chlorine in the Fiji bottled water. Those do exist in a lot of the bottled waters, like Nestle, like anything that Nestle owns. Most of them are just tap water, anyways. So yeah, in that case, like I'm not outright terrified of tap water, but I thought, you know what? I wonder what it would be like to just drink clean water. Like Fiji has the cleanest water in the world, which is why it's so expensive. And that garbage pile doesn't exactly go past Fiji from my recollection of its geography. However, and it's funny too,
but you're contributing it by buying bottled water when you could just have tap water.
That is true.
And it's just as good for you.
Listen, if I wrote you a list of all the horrible things I'm contributing to, we would be here a very long time. But also,
I just thought it was funny that you were talking.
No, and you're absolutely right.
Bottled water is, and then how tragic it was that there's a huge garbage pile in the
ocean.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, listen, one kind of is the result of the other.
Hey, I cry for the animals whilst eating hamburgers. All right, so I have many hypocrisies that clang around in my persona every single day. But I did have this. It's funny that you brought that up because I did actually have a conversation with someone this week who had mentioned the fact that none of the plastic straws and everything like that we throw out in Ontario ends up in the ocean. Because all of our garbage goes to like landfills and stuff. Like nothing we have here in the middle of Canada. It's not like we're shipping out the straws to throw them in the ocean. You know what I mean? So all the restaurants and stuff doing like paper straw is basically a business owner bitching about having like, not wanting to buy paper straws and stuff because they're like nothing that we have here gets shipped out to the ocean anyways. Like it all goes into landfills. So,
yeah.
So just to say that my bottles of Fiji water aren't going to end up in the garbage of the ocean, that's me being mildly defensive. But you are right. In terms of hypocrisy, absolutely. And I haven't found a way to walk around with like, washer safe loincloths that I can just, what do they call them? Just not disposable diapers. What are they called? The
reusable?
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that simple. I thought there was like a better name for it. But you know what I'm saying, right? That's what I want. I want to walk around in a loincloth and I want nuts and berries to grow in my own yard with using no harmful chemicals. I want to run my all my sound and light equipment for stand-up off of solar energy.
Yeah, fun fact. Actually, if we were to maintain our energy consumption the way it is today throughout the world, there is not enough land mass on the planet Earth for us to replicate that using wind and solar. So there's still no good solution to coal.
To coal? Oh, I didn't even know we're talking about coal. We're going retro.
Well, we're talking about being conscious of the environment and things like that. And so if the goal is to stop using coal, then solar and wind is not a viable solution because we could never, we would either have to drastically cut our consumption or find a better solution.
Well, then let me ask you this: who do we kill?
Well, according to Thanos, half of everyone.
Oh. Did you see, I was talking earlier about the trailer for Endgame. The Endgame trailer is out. Have you checked that out?
Yeah, oh yeah.
What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty short, isn't it? It didn't really address much.
No, of course not. I think they can't show a whole heck of a lot because of the fact that, Captain Marvel's going to be in this one. Her movie hasn't even come out yet, so they can't let you see too much. But yeah. Do you ever watch those like, Easter egg videos where they like break down, like trailer breakdowns is what they call them. Do you watch any of those?
No. Well, I have before, but not much. Like I don't make a habit of it.
No, and neither do I. I woke up one day and it's like, now that I have YouTube, it makes suggestions to me every morning. And there was a trailer breakdown for it that suggested that video of Ant-Man at the end is from the past because they all look shocked and like, is this an old video or whatever? And it's like, no, it's the front door. But if you look at the top of the screen, it says archive. And so have you seen Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I know you don't like when I give spoilers, but if I'm spoiling it for other people, whatever, just hit pause or fast forward, guys. But
it's been a long time.
It has been a long time. Yes. Okay. So that's another thing too. Let's save that question for a second. But, yeah, they suggest that Ant-Man is in some sort of time vortex. It's actually one of the things that Michelle Pfeiffer says to him. Don't do this, don't that. Oh, and don't get caught in a time vortex. If you do that, we can't save you. But they're suggesting that Ant-Man gets stuck in some sort of time vortex, and they're going through all this old archive footage of that Avengers sort of area. Because remember, in the first Ant-Man movie, when he went there to steal that thing, they were told it was just an old Stark warehouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, it's just an old Stark warehouse. When he gets there, he's like, this isn't a warehouse. And it ends up being the Avengers' current base. So, yeah, and then he has to fight, what's his face, Falcon or whatever. Well, someone was theorizing because an archive thing, maybe he gets stuck in a time loop and he ends up in upstate New York when it was still a factory or whatever. So he's actually banging on the door in the past, so long before the Avengers even started. That's like an old archive footage of him banging on the door, like, hey, let me in. Do you know who I am? Like, I saw you in Germany, and they're watching it. So, like, they might start looking for clues in the past or whatever to sort of link them back together. I don't know. That was the most interesting thing I found of the whole thing. So,
yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where they go with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of which, how long, like I said, that was the question I wanted to save, is how long is a safe period of time before you can talk about things spoiler free? How long should you give a subject or something?
I mean, I think until the point that it comes out on video.
Okay.
Like, when it comes out on video, then you give it a couple weeks. Because then the people that were like, well, I didn't want to spend the money to see it in the theater, I'm just going to wait till it comes out on video or whatever, then at least they can see it on video. And then, you know, they have a couple weeks to do that. And then it's like, okay, you've had your chance.
Right. Well, that seems fair.
Yeah. Or like if we want like a set timeline, like I guess 6 months, because doesn't it usually come out by 6 months?
Oh, I think it's way sooner than that now.
Yeah.
Seemingly, life goes by so fast, but okay. Well, there you go. That's my new guideline then. 2 weeks after it's released on video, I can start talking about shit without getting angry emails, theoretically.
Yeah. You've had your chance.
Well, I mean, we've been on the phone for like 17 minutes. These segments were always like, yeah, just try to keep it short, little how's it going? But I do enjoy catching up with people. And since, like I said, since the emails don't come, you, Chris and Tiff were great. You guys send in emails regularly, and I do appreciate that. But yeah, I figured I'm gonna have to start going to the source, right? They don't come to me.
I feel I always get to Tuesday, and then I'm like, I'm about to send you one, and then I'm like, well, maybe he's already recorded it, and then and if he reads this like the next week, is it even going to be relevant anymore? And then and then it just doesn't happen.
And people also listen to the podcast like way out of sync too. Like some people are like, oh, I listen to 4 at once, and then I don't listen for a month, and I listen to 4 at once. So I would say just feel free to send it. And a guideline for anyone listening, I would say just generally speaking, I don't think I ever start recording before noon. So if you ever have a chance, if you want to send an email, if you send it in to, before noon, the odds are it'll make it on the existing week. And what's that email address, Red? Get the fuck out of here. I said like 5 times an episode.
contact@onemanpodcast.com.
Oh, it sounds way better coming from you than it does me. Okay, well, if I don't talk to you before the holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that fun stuff. All the best to you and your family. And, be thinking of you.
Yeah, you too. Don't eat too much turkey.
Go fuck yourself. Don't tell me how to live. All right, I'll chat with you soon.
Remember
Red.
those goals.
Yeah, well, hey, I did good. Well, you'll be happy to hear this week's episode, I think.
All right, good stuff.
All right, I'll chat with you soon. I appreciate it. Thanks for being there.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that was fun, wasn't it? That's fun catching up with the friends. I enjoyed that. That was sweet. I love talking with my friends, man. The close ones. And see, I also haven't had zero, like, not only am I not getting the emails, all right? Nah, it's back to bitching, all right? But not only am I not getting emails, I expected a few people to be like, hey, can I be the touch and go? You want to give me a call? Like, I called Peter, and he's like, like, every fucking like, some people just don't want to be spoken to. I've actually had a few people that I've wanted to call, but I worry that with no warning, I'm actually going to end up, not pissing someone off, but they're not going to be free to talk, or they're just going to send it to voicemail because they don't have time, and then I'll just not call them again this next week. But I might, but then again, also the same thing, like the Kimmel's Matt Damon thing. It might just be that I try to call someone every week and I never get them. And it would just be this funny ongoing thing. So like, it would be a huge deal when I finally get them. So I guess touch and go will kind of have to like let it roam, because I don't think these little 5-minute check-ins work, but maybe sometimes it'll be a small one, maybe sometimes longer, but at least it's a back and forth that maybe you guys can enjoy every single fucking episode of the One Man Podcast. God damn it. So having said that, guys, what have I got going on this week? Oh, I've got my Air Canada interview tomorrow morning. be doing some Ubering this week. This weekend, I have a bunch of LCBO samplings. I got a gig in Pembroke, which is usually a big military town. I'm looking forward to that on Saturday night. And Saturday morning, I have my brunch with friends. We're doing the Christmas brunch. We're doing our White Elephant Christmas stuff there. And what else? Oh yes, and I've got that gift that I'm bringing in. So my job for the brunch is I'm doing my my world famous, right? Everybody makes their world famous something, even if they live in a small town. I've never traveled. Everything they make is world famous. I'm making my my home fries. I do up nice home fries, nice little rustic Tuscan seasoning on them there. It's gonna be delicious. Can't wait. So yeah, and I'm really looking forward to that, man. I hope to have some really cool stories and stuff for you guys next week's episode. As always, contact at onemanpodcast.com. If you guys want to send me an email, let me know what's going on with you. Give me some gift ideas. Tell me to go fuck myself for drinking Fiji water out of a bottle. You know, I asked them to send me it in a disposable cup, but it's always melted by the time it gets here. So, yeah, contact at onemanpodcast.com. Thank you, portablepress.com, absolutecomedy.ca, summersbydk.com/ca in Canada, or dk.com/whatever, nothing in the States. Someone type in dk.com/whatever, nothing. There's nothing there. Check us out, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, One Man Podcast. You'll find us. We've got episodes there now available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music. If you're listening to this in some other outlet somehow and you'd love to be able to subscribe, please go to one of those outlets, find One Man Podcast and subscribe. If you need help, contact at onemanpodcast.com and I'd be happy to walk you through the process. I'd love to have you guys there. If you're on there already, please take 2 seconds and leave a review. If you're listening to this right now, just, go into your app and find wherever the reviews are. I'd love a 5-star review, a little write-up. It just helps make the podcast more popular. And what else? I think that's it, man. We are the 12th when this comes out, so I will still have an opportunity to run my mouth at you guys once or twice more before Jesus' birthday. Little baby Jesus. So yeah. I don't know, my watch just asked me a question and then it went away. I think it's taking over. Yeah, so I hope you guys are enjoying your holiday season. I hope everything's going well for you. Stay warm if you're somewhere cold, and chill the fuck out if you're somewhere hot, you know what I'm saying? And I will chat with you guys again next week.